And welcome to the regular meeting of the Orange Board of Finance. It's Monday, September 20th. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:17 p.m. I'll start by having everyone introduce themselves, beginning on my right.
Kevin Moffett.
John Cifarelli, Finance Director.
Joe Nuzzo, Board of Finance.
Jim Leahy.
Kevin Houlihan. Thank you. I'm going to hold off on why everyone here is here right now for just a minute. In the past 2 weeks, we've lost two members of our town. Probably lost more, but these two stick out in my mind. Was the first selectman's mom, Pat Zioli, passed away on September 8th, and unfortunately, on Friday the 17th, member P.J. Shanley's dad, Bob Shanley, who I think everybody in town knew. He was involved in everything with the town, City of New Haven, Knights of St. Patrick, and that was a sudden tragic loss. So I'd like to just have a brief moment of silence in their honor. Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 3, public dialogue, Old Country Road residences. So, come on up and.
I just wanted to state that it should be, for request for parking, Old Country Road / Coachman's Lane.
All set. Good evening. My name is Al Bucknall, and I live at 439 Old Country Road and have been for 45 years. And I thank you for allowing us to address you tonight. I hope that you've seen the memo that we have sent to John Cifarelli and some of the pictures regarding the flooding issues for at least 8 homeowners on Old Country Road and Coachman's Lane, which is located, for some of you, off Treat Lane. So we're between, I think you probably, where we're on the Milford side of things. But let me just introduce, if you don't mind, Kevin, if I could, some of our homeowners who are here. Mike and Teresa Kozak on Coachman's Lane, John Altieri on Old Country Road, Tom Saxa from Old Country Road, Sally Robinson from Old Country Road, and Byung Kang and his wife, who are on Coachman's Lane. So you can see that 7 of the 8 homeowners are here tonight who are concerned. But just to give you an idea, I think you might have had a chance to read the memo that I sent to John, we sent to John. But in addition to... No, I don't want to read it per se. I think I'll let you do that, but I'll give you a quick summary, I think, if you don't mind. Just highlighting the problem, some of the things that we have done, and then lastly, a solution that we think can help or at least give input to. But both Don Foyer, the crew chief for the town's highway department, and Bob Britton, the town engineer, have encouraged us to ask you for your support, since we have experienced serious flooding on a regular basis for many years due to a stream that frequently overflows and backs up during storms. This, in turn, causes our garage and basements to be overflooded by sometimes up to 2 to 3 feet. Both of them say this is due to out-of-date culverts on both streets that get clogged up and blocked by debris, which does not allow water through very small 24-inch outlets that have long exceeded their life expectancy. Now, we have tried to mitigate some of this damage over the years, and try to remedy our flooding issues by using sump pumps, special drains in our driveways, and creating berms. But they have been overwhelmed too often and damage our basements and create unhealthy living conditions, including health hazards including mold. Now, this is not just the most recent storms of July and September. This has been going on for many years. I have to stress that as for all of us to understand. But according,
45, right?
pardon me?
You've been here 45 years?
Yes,
So you're a good resource.
thanks.
Thank you.
From what I can remember. But according to both Don Foyer and Bob Britton, these culverts have deteriorated significantly, and they may actually fall over, which could cause a partial road collapse. We have complained over the years to Bob Britton, who had developed a plan for a more modern, larger culvert to address these issues and enlarge the outlets. There was a modern box culvert installed on this same stream in or about 2016 on Treat Lane, which is on the same stream. And they have not had any flooding since that. And they have indicated that the brook also requires significant dredging near the culverts.
When you say they, you're referring to Donnie and Bob, right?
Yes, exactly. We are asking you, the Finance Board, to consider our request to fund this project. We also have pictures to show you of how bad this flooding has been and has created a disaster for all of us. And we asked if you need any more information, we can provide that. And perhaps if we can show some of those pictures, Jim, we'd appreciate it. I think that might help. Okay.
RMC.
Okay.
We've done this before here a few times, Al.
This first picture is actually my house on 439 Old Country Road, and you can see it's up about 1.5 to 2 feet on our garage door. And that is the brook, which has become a lake. And this is the July 9th flooding issue. Yeah. Just a side view of that same area along 439 Old Country.
Okay. This is in our handout to you, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the brook looking at John Altieri's property, who's right next door to me. And you can see he actually has installed a drain and pumps to pump out the water over the years, but to no avail, as you can see here. So he got probably 2 to 3 feet would be a fair assessment, John?
4 in the driveway.
In the
Garage,
Jim, can you just turn your mic on? We can't hear you. Okay, well,
it's green.
No, it's got to be dark green.
it's gonna be like lit up.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You're good.
Violation on me.
I'll make sure you can hear you.
We can go to the,
I thought it was the man. Al
Next.
continues.
that's Old Country Road right between our two properties, between the Alteris and the Bucknalls.
Okay?
And this is looking again on Old Country this is Tom Sachs's property to the right. And you can see the water is not only over the culvert, but onto the road and creates obvious hazards.
So in this picture, is the water coming this way, from our right to the left, or is it the other way?
It's coming from the left to the right.
Okay, and this is kind of after it had settled down a bit, I should say.
Yep.
But it's still a lot of water.
That's now come over the road. This is just the stream over the road.
Yep.
flowing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, I was over there the other day. I hear you. Yep. Okay, Al.
Okay, now this would be
That's my basement.
Tom Sachs's basement on Old Country Road. And this is not an infrequent, unusual occurrence at all, but how much would you say, Tom?
That was about 2 feet there, but because it would have been more, but it actually went into the house and the dispersed part of the basement.
Okay. Another one? Same house? Same, you two again?
So you can get a sense of how devastating this is leading from the garage into his basement, which is flooded periodically for years.
Yep.
And again, looking from John Altieri and Tom's house, looking back towards my house, you can see a recycling can that I had out the night before that just got pushed from my garage out to the culvert
This
there.
is the night where we got 6 inches of rain or something like that in 6 hours or some,
This is the
ballpark?
July 9th
Yeah.
event, yes.
Okay.
And this would be Tom's garage, and you can get a sense of the
Yep.
at least 2 to 3 feet. And in fact, Tom and John Altieri both used tarps in the September storm because of this one. And they were tarps from the top of their garage to the bottom kept with cinder blocks, and they were somewhat, but not really successful in stopping the flooding.
Okay, thank you.
Again, this is Sally Robinson across the street from me. It's 438 Old Country Road. But now you're looking from her garage into her basement, and you can see the car there and the flooding right into the basement. And this is on Coachman's Lane. This is Byung Kang, he had put up sandbags to prevent the flooding, which did not work. It just was overwhelmed.
Yep. Yep.
That's Byung Kang's side yard, and his garage is to the left. So the brook is just, you can just sort of see that, and his yard becomes a lake.
Mike, when I was over visiting you and we were looking at this with Donnie, is this the brook there that I was standing there when you first came out? Yeah.
Right where we're, right on top of the culvert.
Wow.
That house in front of us, that'd be beyond.
Yep.
And he's also got other pictures that are not on there for both storms, and they're dated.
Yep.
And, you know, with more pictures, with more.
Roger that. Thank you. So this is a continuation of the same?
Yeah.
I
That's
like
still,
flowers.
yeah, that's still Coachman's. And that's the brook that should be where it is, but now you can see how it just backs up.
Yep.
Al, it's backing up, say to our left or to the right? Which way?
It's heading this way. Right.
The culvert would be this further down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming towards us in this picture.
I gotcha.
In fact, I'll pass around a picture. I don't know if that's appropriate, John. Here's the culvert blocked. These show you how bad, and some of the
Oh, yeah.
wood that
All
collects.
this came out of it?
Yes?
Kev, you got your mic on? Make sure it's dark green today.
Yeah, turn that one to your left there, at the corner of the table. Yeah, let's turn that one on too. Thank you.
Yeah, use both. I guess what you say. Okay.
What I've shown Kevin Moffett and John is the blockage of the Coachman Lane culvert with much debris and wood. In fact, Mike was involved in chopping up telephone pole size pieces of wood that,
And that's what this one is, right?
yeah.
They're probably not in the presentation.
They're not in the
Okay,
presentation.
thank you, Joe. That answers your question. Yeah, this is the size of the wood that was blocking stuff.
They were actually telephone poles. They were actually 3 6-footers, and they drifted down and blocked both culverts, and then they packed with brush and other debris. So they were totally blocked.
Yeah, this is the one I met you at the other day.
And
Yeah.
I filled up a trailer. I dragged all those
I think
out.
this one's
with a
this way.
can and a tractor, and filled
Yeah.
up a 4 by 5 by 8-foot trailer right up to the top.
And I'll show you a picture of Mike in action here in 2 to 3 feet of water in the middle of the night. We were all up in the September storm. From 2 in the morning, we saw each other. We were all out in the road. We did not sleep very well in any of these situations because it's just a matter of time when our houses were
Right, Al, I'm going to
damaged.
flash you a new one while we pass the other ones around.
Okay, now this is looking from beyond Kang's towards Mike's house, which you see in the background, and that's the culvert, Kevin, to the right. And that culvert gets blocked, and that's the one with the debris that's
Yeah, I don't know.
awful.
Now, Al, question.
Yeah.
Are you guys located in the flood zone there? Do you have flood insurance on the houses? Just curious. No, no.
No, the reason I was given for that when I moved in, because I moved in 2004, was that this is actually not a natural body of water, it's an open storm drain, which doesn't require flood insurance. So it's actually town property with an easement going through our property.
Okay. So you cannot make a claim against your flood insurance policy, which is not a good thing, obviously.
Is that more pictures
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Joe?
I'm sorry, yeah. No. Yeah, it's working at night, yeah.
And even if we could, the object is not to have this happen.
Well, of course, of
A
course.
couple of my neighbors, including myself, have been to the doctor about 6 times in the last couple of months for breathing issues, whether it's, mold related, but, being on antibiotics and prednisone. because
This one
it's
is actually doing that and it's
something
pouring
we
rain.
haven't had before.
Okay. If we could let the pictures guide us, because remember, we're on TV, so we're trying to find the right balance of
Right.
everybody participating, but if the people are watching, they're watching what you're seeing here.
Yeah, that's Coachman's Lane, looking at Mike Kozik's house in the background, and it's actually, we were lucky to get a payloader in, but it was after it was
After,
too
yeah.
late. Yeah, after it was all
Okay.
backed up and.
Al, is that what this is right here? It looks like a town truck.
Yes. So we were appreciative, certainly, of their efforts to try to clean the debris out, but at that point, you can see that it was already well backed up and into Mr. Kang's basement and garage.
Okay, I'm ready for the next one. You, Al?
Yep.
Good, thank you.
And now you're getting a look at his basement. And how deep do you think that was, beyond? Well, at least a foot deep of,
And he had double sandbags.
yeah.
The front, outside of the garage door, and then one on the inside, and that still went over the sandbags. And he had 2 pumps pumping it out at the same time, so you could tell. An inch and a half electric pumps, that pumps probably like 70 gallons a minute, and then another one that pumps about 15 gallons.
In your house?
Pardon?
In your house, you had 70,
No,
In the garage pumping them out.
70 gallons a minute? That's a cowboy running on that. That's fast. That's a lot, isn't it?
Yes.
Jesus. Oh, I see the sandbags here. Okay, I'll keep you going, so you okay, thank you.
Yeah, the more of the same of Mr. Kang's
Wow.
garage. You can see how deep it is a little bit there from
Same thing.
the lawnmower and the garage doors.
Okay. Okay.
also shorted out all his garage door controllers.
Oh, I'm sure there's other stuff that's happened. I mean, I'm looking at this. I mean, I got a lot of water in my basement, maybe a couple of feet a lot of times, and then I've already told you kind of my own story, but basement systems help out a lot, but this is not the same situation at all.
No. Not with that culvert there.
Can we make a mention of something so that you guys understand, maybe more from our perspective? And Kevin, I don't know how deep you want to go, but I saw in your letter, and thank you for putting such a great letter together from my perspective. Here's what happens at our end when we get capital requests. There's a capital committee, and they get a bunch of requests from the schools, the police, whomever, right? They do a prioritization, and there's an amount for every one of them, right? So, because we say, listen, we don't have $15 million for capital every year, and everybody's got good and just reasons, right? So, please prioritize them for us. So when they get here in early February for the following capital year, we see a prioritized list, and we ask them specifically, mostly, I think, Kevin, about the prioritized list, if I
Right.
remember right.
Yeah, because we're not involved on that.
And I don't think in your case, Al, and I'll just direct it
Yeah.
to you for the team,
Right.
okay? it was above the cut line, all right? No, I'm not saying, we can throw stones, I'm not doing that. I'm
Right.
just saying that's the process that was used, okay? Just so that you know. I don't even remember this one. I'm sure I have it documented because I document everything, as you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So just FYI, and that's not to say, oh, we would have done it if we only, we're just telling you that's the process. That's all I'm saying, okay? Where we go forward that'll be another process. But I wanted to mention that. I would also be curious, the impact of this 3x6 rectangular culvert, that really benefited Trait Lane?
Oh, absolutely. I went and I talked to the person whose property adjoins the culvert on Treat Lane.
Yep.
And he looked at me like I was crazy when I said, hey, how you do with flooding? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Haven't had any flooding for years. So that's at least 6 or 7 years that's been in there, if not more.
Now, Kevin and Kevin and Joe on the team here, the Board of Finance team, I went over there the other day, and, as you know, I can't change oil in my car, and I heard what you had done. All right, I just was amazed, let alone middle of the night, let alone in 3 feet of water. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Some things I know how to do real well, and I like to do them here. But these things are disrepair significantly. These culverts?
Culverts.
The thing over the road. They're lowered in the road. They're pulling the road down.
Yeah.
I mean, I started doing pictures, and that's when Mike came out and started telling me all the story. And so we welcome you here.
Thank you.
And I know we have an item on the agenda to start addressing this. All right,
Good.
but I wanted to get some of that information in terms of the process that we go through, and also what the Board of Finance membership has already done to observe and share that information with you guys. Fortunately, I
Thank
didn't
you.
have to make my iPhone photos. That you guys already had your stuff already here. So that's my comments to the team here. Joe, Kevin's.
Well, I think, I'll be super brief. We get a list of capital from the committee, we talk about it, we drill them on it for a couple hours or more. And even in my own neighborhood, there was an issue, and it was just like, okay, well, but then you get to this level of visual evidence of, it's not just a broken culvert like I had, it's something that's flooding your homes.
Yes.
So, when it comes to us, and it's like, and they prioritize it, and this is a whole eye-opening,
Well, thank you.
it's like a picture is worth a million words, they say, or
I think so. I
1,000.
have to thank my neighbors.
It's inflation,
because-
though.
Yeah.
It's a million.
Yeah, I think what's important to know with that too is that, like I said, I've been in it for 17 years. That stream is actually at least double, if not triple, the width that it was because of that issue. Because the water standing in there is eroding the edges of the banks. So there's now exposed roots, there's trees that are gonna start toppling over.
Because it backed up?
Exactly,
Yeah.
so it's just widening and widening.
It caused its own
facilitating
problem.
the
It got
erosion
worse and
of it.
worse.
So it's taking parts of our property out and starting to really cut into the banks of the stream, which is why I think we're seeing it more and more now. It's just getting worse.
Yeah, if the town
And
could,
these storms really exacerbate it, and probably, like, the pictures with the logs,
right.
I mean, God, those laws.
Appreciate that, yeah. I think we're talking about not only the culverts, but also the
Telephone- he
dredging,
said
which
that-
Tom is talking
Yeah.
about.
I believe he said, they
Telephone poles, cut up.
actual telephone poles were in there
The
blocking it up.
power of nature is amazing, isn't it? Jesus. I was trying to envision when I was standing in this exact position. Because your house, sir, is not far from that stream, right? And so I'm saying, well, how deep did it get? And Mike was telling me 2 feet across the road. And I
Yeah.
could see the road was higher than the house. So, besides praying to God that I was glad I wasn't there, I felt badly for who was, Wow, nicely done, thank you.
Do you need any of these more? You think we have?
I
have plenty.
I don't want to not go
plenty.
through them, though.
I see
my heart
where-
goes out to you.
I think one of the issues is on the docket for tonight is a request from Bob Britton to.
It's next on the agenda.
That's
We
right.
encourage
So we'll
you to
stay, I think
around.
we'll stay for a
Yeah.
bit.
So are you all set?
I think so. Anybody have anything else to add?
Address? Okay.
Well, I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you for giving us all this time, and,
No, thank
you know,
you.
we appreciate your
That's an issue, I mean, that's a big issue.
concern.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, Orange historically, everybody gets, at some point in time, is gonna get water in their basement, but that's above and beyond the normal reasons, I think.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Yep,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so item number 4A, memo from Bob Britton requesting funding for Old Country Road flooding issues, and I understand, John, we should change that to Old Country Road, Coachman's Lane, correct?
I think it's on the memo itself, Kev.
Yeah, it's on the, and Coachman's.
It is on the memo, yes.
I just noticed it myself.
Yes,
Yep.
Coachman's.
So it's good. Okay, team.
So I don't think, after what he just presented, I don't have any reason to debate this memo.
The only thing I could say is, so you're all not confused, you did bring up the capital item, and it was on the capital item. At that point, it was on the capital item for $200,000. And that was just a pure guess.
No, it was 150, actually.
150? I think
Oh, Kevin went back
I think
and
at one
checked it out.
time it was
Good
going
job,
up to
Kev.
200. But anyways, that was just getting a contractor to give him an idea on it. Mr. Britton now feels with the storms we're getting now that he needs a professional engineer that deals with this to come up with the rain flow and things like that, and in drawings and all to get this done correctly. He's not sure just changing the culvert is going to work. And I'll give you an example. The new Derby Milford Road Bridge, the last
It
storm.
got washed out.
The water went over the top, and that was designed for a 100-year storm. So he's a little concerned about just putting in a.
Well, and you know, say, you go back to the original 150 or the last number I have. You don't want to spend 150 if it doesn't work.
Right.
It's got to be done right, because otherwise we're right back where we started.
Absolutely.
So I think, you
So
know,
that's what this
Bob's on the
30K
right.
is about.
Yeah, this is what he feels. He's had some preliminary talks with the engineers, and that's what they feel it'll take to do the design and do the calculations, go before the wetlands board, because remember, you can't throw more water down the stream without slowing it down, because you can then cause a problem in another neighborhood or another town over the town line, so it's got to be done correctly.
Well, we know that something happened on or about 2016, and no one complained about going on down the line, but
Well, that was
that one is pretty
was-
close to Milford, as I
That
remember.
was done by, I think that was designed by professional engineers at that time.
Okay, good,
too.
and that's
So
what we're
that's what
planning
we're gonna do here.
Yeah.
Okay, questions? Is this go out to bid, or is this somebody selected?
No, it will when the plans are drawn up, has to go out to bid.
Okay, any sense of timing? If I
This
was,
30,000 doesn't go out to bid, this is professional services.
so that
Right.
means it doesn't go out to bid?
No.
Which makes it quicker.
Right.
Okay, so let's give me an estimate, and, you know, a ballpark this big, what timing?
Well, he has to draw up the contract with the engineer, it has to go to the Board of Selectmen for approval, and then they start on, I couldn't tell you how long it takes them.
Well, he should be able to have that ready for the next Board of Selectmen meeting
Yeah.
and get it.
Which is
I would-
October.
I
done,
would think
right?
so.
First week of October, is it? So in 3 weeks?
Second Wednesday in October.
Okay, so that lets them know when that happens, but that's just approval, and that's probably,
That,
You know.
that'll happen.
now, any idea, what do you get for this 30 grand? Not so much for the 30 grand, but if I'm thinking of a timeline where there's a fix in place, you know, what do you get for the 30, which then triggers something else expenditure,
Well,
I'm sure?
They'll go out there, they'll look at the flows going through the river, they'll make their calculations, there's computer programs that do that. Then they'll design, if it's a culvert that they need there, they'll design the culvert, do plans and specs for it, so then Bob could go out to bid with that. They'll go before the wetlands board to get the permission to do it. You can't do anything in the waterway without the wetlands board. And then they'll probably, after we hire a contractor to do it, will probably hire that same engineer to oversee what they're doing to make sure they do the project according to the plans and specs.
No, I had seen, don't be surprised, guys, I had seen one on one road and one on another road. And maybe there's some backup country that I didn't see. And both of them are pretty good disrepair.
Now, is this something the Army Corps of Engineers would get involved in? Or
I don't know when they get involved. I don't know what the thing is. Like that new roadway we wanted to put into Fred Wolf Park, that was kind of all designed, then the Army Corps of Engineers came in there and said,
Nope.
you're gonna have to do 10 bridges going through over the wetlands, so it couldn't happen, so.
All right,
Okay.
so
This is a start, put it that way.
Oh, so do you need a motion for
get it
this?
rolling. Yeah, we need a motion.
I
to
motion
approve
that.
it.
And you need to, where you're gonna come up with the money for it, which I would recommend the capital fund.
Okay, I
Correct.
propose a motion out of the capital fund for expenditure of $30,000 for the hiring of a consultant, just that last paragraph there, Deb, the hiring of a consultant, consulting engineering firm to perform surveying, hydrology, and hydraulics to size the culverts and prayer plans for permit application for bidding and construction for Old Country Road and Coachman Lane culverts over Stubby Plain. In other words, we'll put that in at the end of the sentence, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's my motion.
It's a motion by Jim. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Al, thank you. Thank you all for
guys
coming.
for your work.
Sorry about your work, your problems, but thanks for bringing
Keep
it
our
to us.
fingers crossed we don't get a
Trying to
storm
help you.
You know?
like this for a couple of more months.
Jesus,
You know?
if we get any more rain in the spring.
Mike, you got my card. You can call anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, good to see you.
Take care.
Al, great to see you.
Mike, too, take care.
Good. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Country Road. Oh, that's not Old Country.
Item
Oh.
4B, memo from Bob Britton requesting funding for Stone Otis house repairs.
All right, here we go.
Okay,
I'm gonna
this
move
one,
this, we got visiting nurses here, I wanna get this quick.
okay, this one, the people that are in charge of the Stone Otis House Orange Historical Society applied for a $20,000 steep grant to do a lot of work over there. The steep grant was granted. When the work went out to bid, came in over the $20,000. It's a matching grant, actually. They put in, state puts in $20,000, the town puts in $20,000. So some of the items were eliminated to bring it into the $40,000 in total, which you can see on the back, second page. What we need to do, though, is to allocate $40,000 with $20,000 being reimbursed by the state. We have to put the whole amount out first, and then we apply to get the $20,000 back. Again, I'd recommend this come out of the capital fund.
Right, and then the 20,000 will go back in.
Right.
To capital fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be a net effect of 20,000. Right, used.
Kev, you making that motion? I'll second it. Kevin, want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the expenditure of $40,000, $20,000 of which will be reimbursed by the state for the improvements to this, what's the actual name of the project?
Stone Otis House. What do you call it?
Yeah, Stone Otis
Renovation
House.
project?
Okay, motion by Kevin,
I'll
is there a
second.
second by Joe.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a point. Thank you. The value of going out to bid, I'm noticing there were 3 bids. Only 2 of them covered it all, and there was a doubling of the amount by the higher bidder. We just selected the lower bidder. So the value of going out to bid is demonstrated here, number 1, and number 2, this is a very well-written memo.
I will
My
pass
comment.
that along to them.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
You know,
opposed,
I find it
abstained.
interesting in looking at it that there's 2 things, the pressure washing of the fence and fence painting preparation. You would think something like that would be an Eagle Scout project, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I
Oh,
know-
yeah,
I mean,
where's the volunteerism here?
We're volunteers in town.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just spent 12 hours yesterday working at a fair, and I don't mind doing it, you know, jump in.
Item 4C, memo from Don Foyer requesting funding to purchase a new pickup truck.
Okay, again, this was on the capital list from the Oakenquist Committee, and it wasn't funded, and I think some of us 2 years ago saw that the floor was rotted out, and they had welded in some steel panels to keep it going. Basically, you're either gonna fund this, or we're gonna take the truck off the road, and they're gonna be down a truck, because we're not gonna spend $32,000 on fixing
Doesn't
it.
make sense.
So,
No.
John,
I think if you could get the truck, and we held off on certain capital because we didn't know what the pandemic was gonna do.
Right.
Clearly.
I'm not even sure they're gonna be able to get the truck, because
Correct.
as you hear in the news, there's a shortage, and Ford and Chevy have both shut down their truck lines for a lack of computer
Computer
chips.
chips,
You
yeah.
know.
You might be able to find used ones somewhere, because there are some near the Cadillac dealership near my office. They don't have any Cadillacs and they don't have any Buicks, but they have pickup trucks, because they're getting them just to have something on the lot. I mean, but they're price gouging, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying that particular dealership is. I think they all are, because there's nothing out there.
okay, questions I have are following. First of all, John, 37,670 is the price, if I read it right.
Yeah, but I would make, if you're gonna approve it, I would make the motion for 40,000.
That's fine.
No, not to exceed 40,000.
Not to exceed.
I was
gonna come out of
I was gonna say
capital.
45, because I bet you, no? Okay, stick with 40.
We'll come back to us if you need that.
Yeah.
The 5,000 that he says that would bring approximately an auction, and maybe that's a ha-ha at best, I don't know. Where does that, whatever that amount of money comes in for the current one being, tossed?
It would go into miscellaneous income in the fund balance.
Thank you. And what are these last 2 pages? I didn't get what was going on here.
That's the repair of the truck.
That's the repair of the current
Cost to
truck.
repair the existing truck.
Yeah.
Which makes 0 sense, obviously.
32,000?
Yeah, you're right.
And like I said, it's not gonna happen.
Who wants to jump in first? Joe, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve.
From
up-
capital account.
Capital, from the capital account up to $40,000 for the purchase of a new truck, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever you can find.
Motion by Joe, is there a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Second.
Second by Jim. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, unanimous?
Will that be bought off the state contract,
If they could get it,
if they can get
they
it?
could get it.
It's a bit-
Jim has looked for some used trucks, like Kevin had said. Haven't found anything yet, but he may start looking a little harder now too.
Violation,
Okay.
trying to make a pile.
Item
here.
number 5, Orange Visiting Nurses.
Okay, we're gonna
financial
invite them up to the
presentation.
table, right, team?
Lisa Pimentas, yes, come on up.
Come on up. 1, 2, find a spot. I'm going to close this one. Close this one, team. So here we are on item 5.
Right there. Yeah,
Good.
just pull it.
Good. Come on right up. Let me get my stuff out of your
I
way.
like it, that's how I get my.
Make sure your microphones are on, so I will
That's
help
right,
you with
that's right.
that. There you go. Make sure we got green for both, dark green, because I was doing light green earlier, and that was not working. Okay, point of information, background. We were supposed to do this in July, but something happened. My piece of background was we were talking about this back in May, was it, Kevin? Or, John, when did we get together?
We talked about this back in May, and we were gonna do it in June, and we weren't, I think they weren't ready to present in June, then we canceled our July and August meeting, so.
Okay.
Here we are.
I created just for the team of Orange Board of Finance, anybody else wants to know, including you, and you guys followed it exactly. This is, voices coming through good, Chris?
Yeah, let's just take your mic and slide it down a little bit, and let's all shift the mics down.
Okay.
If that's well, yes.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Put that one there, put that one there, and John, Kevin, you've got 2. So slip that one down one.
Over on the far side, but yes.
And
now just take
that one will
your-
go
that mic,
for-
Just pass it to your right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Good. Okay, and pull it down a bit so when you talk. So I created an agenda. Another member of the board's not here tonight, Pat Romano, made an agenda, and I got together with John, and he decided what the agenda that was sent to you all, okay? And what we're going to see here is you followed that agenda in response. All right, so I just wanted to give that, how we got to the categories of stuff that you saw from us, which was a Word document with a, I think it was a two, well, here it is right here. All right, so that's what we sent them. Okay. John, any other background?
No, I think we turn it over to Lisa. Why
Absolutely.
doesn't Lisa introduce herself and Anna and Jim, who they are?
Okay.
So I'm Lisa Pimenta. I'm the administrator of OVNA. This is Anna Saldamarco. She is our, I could say, finance manager in the office as well as a biller. And we also have Jim McPherson, who is our accountant who prepares our Medicare paperwork every year that we send to Medicare.
Oh, and that's part of the document that I have that you sent us.
Correct.
Jim is a CPA who does
Right.
this for many.
Many years.
About 20 years now.
20 years, yeah.
And you do it for various
We do.
locations? Like,
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Yep.
good. I'm sorry, your name again?
Anna.
Anna.
Yep.
My grandmother's name. Okay. So I think the best way to do it is we'll ask questions as we go through, but the audience at home is seeing what you're seeing on the screen as well as us. I don't get OGET, so I don't know. But I think that would be the best approach, or Kevin, if you're good with that
I'll
approach.
just turn it over to her, and if you have questions.
Roger that.
We're not gonna,
Okay, so I just wanted to basically give you a brief overview of what we do at the OVNA. So like you know, since 1937, OVNA has been in business. It started out with nurses on horseback doing home care visits. We service Orange, Milford, West Haven, and Woodbridge. We get our referrals primarily from private MD offices, skilled nursing facilities, rehab facilities, which are sometimes part of that SNF, and hospitals. The services that we provide are skilled nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, social work, home health aid, and we do have a nutrition counselor. If the patient does require IV, we have a company that will be referred to the case by the referral source, and they will bill directly for their own services. So recent trends would include, obviously, the public pandemic. There were, especially the year we're talking about, 19 and 20, there were a lot less surgeries, elective surgeries, and procedures were not being done. Patients were afraid to go to the hospital, that they'd catch COVID. Lower patient census. And 3, patients requiring more nursing and skilled therapy during and after the pandemic now, because they were so deconditioned with being isolated into their homes, especially the elderly and the sicker patients that had a lot of comorbidities that were high risk. They were staying home. Typically, OVNA patients have more comorbidities and are sicker than the state and national averages, which then requires more services. Patients choosing Medicare plans, like you probably see on the TV, there's all the managed Medicare companies are really making it look very attractive to go from your traditional Medicare over to one of those plans. Those plans pay terrible. They don't even cover the cost most of the time.
So there's a big trend, because we'll be getting to the financials soon, and we're not
Correct.
here because there isn't a problem. So,
Right,
so
so-
that trend is really what will be behind some of the other things we'll see in a minute.
Yes.
Yes. There's a
Thank you.
definite trend from going from traditional Medicare to the managed plans. Private insurances, like years ago, we used to be able to make bids, and you could really make some decent money off of private insurance companies. But now it's no longer that way. They tell you what they're going to pay, and you either accept the contract or you don't. So obviously you have to accept some of them, because then we wouldn't have the referrals that we need to survive.
So could I ask Jim a question on just that
Sure.
point, since we've already advertised you to the town or the people watching, or to me, that you do this in a lot of communities?
That's correct.
So a lot of the community's seeing that same trend.
No doubt about it.
And a lot of the community seeing the same financial impact on the what, I'll just call it OVNA Town X, rather than OVNA Town Orange.
Yes, the only difference is that Orange VNA is a municipal agency. There's not many municipal agencies left in the state of Connecticut,
Municipal agency, what does that mean?
meaning they're owned by the town and run by the town.
What are
Most
they,
VNAs that we see are freestanding, self-supporting
Like South
entities.
Central and whatnot.
Correct.
Municipal agency, okay.
So they
that's an
have
important-
other funding sources such as contributions, bequests, investment returns.
Okay,
Okay? And obviously OVNA does not.
okay, owned by the town. Roger that. Thank you.
Good.
All right.
One of the other big things that happened is back in January of 2019, we used to be able to put all the wound care supplies that we needed for wound care patients, surgical patients, and Medicare would pay us for those supplies. As of January of 2019, Medicare then said, okay, we're paying too much in supplies, so now we're going to maybe increase your refund by a little tiny bit, but we're not paying you for the supplies anymore. It is extremely, extremely expensive. We had one patient recently, Anna, that was about $2,000 a month just for the wound care supplies. So right off the bat, you're losing money on that case. The other issue is, I don't know if you know that, but Yale New Haven Health Services have now bought 3 home care companies. So they're giving a lot of the referrals to themselves. They have to, by choice, give 3 options.
To the patients.
To the patient, they have to give,
patient.
yeah, they have to give patient choice. So they'll give them 3 options. You know, they have to give one that they don't own.
But Lisa, those, again, when I thought you lived on Coachman's Lane, a second ago, when I introduced myself prior to us doing this, those increases in supply costs also affect anybody who has that type of patient, right?
Correct. Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it affects everybody's bottom line.
Yep. Thank you.
So the other thing that I just kind of wanted to touch on is there were 2 ways of payment, and Jim will get a little bit more into it later, but I just want you to understand the way that we are being reimbursed by Medicare now is very different.
Now, is this on the screen, or are you telling us something off screen?
You know what? I wonder if I should wait. I'll wait because it's on the agenda
Thank
later.
No, because then we'll have a visual to context to your
That's
thoughts
fine.
and
Yep.
write notes on it, right?
Yep. So generating revenue. So we have customers, our patients, and with the new way of billing, I do need to explain this part, is
Okay.
there's many, many, many things now that go into how much you get paid. The previous style of billing, you basically got paid based on how many therapy visits you were providing. And like I've already said, our patients are sicker, they're older than most state and out-of-state companies. So we have to spend more money. We have to provide more of those therapies than a lot of other agencies. So it was based on the number of therapy visits that we provided. That's now gone. As of January of 2020, what we are now doing is there's many, many different ways that they bill. First is functional status. So they look at the patient's ability to groom, to dress, to bathe, to transfer, how they ambulate, and the risk for rehospitalization. Then there's another thing they look at. What's the admission source? Is it coming from the community or is it coming from a hospital? The hospital will pay higher, the community referral will pay lower. There's also a timing issue. Is it the first 30 days or the subsequent 30-day episodes? If it's the first 30 days, it's called early, and they pay you more for that than they pay you for the subsequent ones. So that has affected us as well.
I just want to be able, we're still under generating revenue and
Yes.
somewhere in the zone of customers, but you've given at least me a mouthful. And you've said that the admission source could either be institutional or town
Community, and
Community.
community means come from like a doctor or a patient's family member, but, you know, it
People,
still has
okay.
to come from a doctor.
But you've separated into two categories, and I believe you told me that one was paid you more than the other.
Community or
Community.
institutional, and
Right,
institutional is
institutional.
paid more.
Right.
Okay, so revenue, I'll call it amount, but, you know, it's pretty, you know, V1 in my world. It's higher, certainly, in the institutional,
Yes.
and lower if it comes up community, I'll
Right.
call it community.
Yeah.
And it's,
Lower.
and with the
Yep.
timing category, it's higher if it's the first 30 days as opposed to the subsequent 30-day episodes
First 30 days after what?
that they're in our service.
Oh, I see. So if I'm in for first 30 days, I'm golden boy, but after
Right.
30 days, whoever's
Right.
giving me, you guys money is paying less.
Right. Regardless of how
right,
much care we
right.
provide to that
Yep.
patient.
And,
Roger.
right. And this is all the way that traditional Medicare pays.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Lisa's explaining now.
Okay.
And
Just so
then
you
the
understand.
last thing they look at is the functional status of the patient. So the more needs they have functionally, the more obviously you're going to get paid as well.
Functional status
Mm-hmm.
to the 25 words or less people like me? What does that mean?
It means how does the person need help with grooming, dressing, bathing, transferring, toilet transferring, and ambulation? Do they need assistance, and how much assistance do they need with those activities?
Okay.
There's high, medium, low
Right.
functional status.
Right.
Okay.
Lisa, what percentage of your patients is on Medicare?
Right now, we are almost exactly 50-50, which is not good.
Yeah.
We used to be like at a 70-30, which is when we used to generate good revenue.
70 with Medicare?
70, right, yes, 70 traditional Medicare and 30.
And so why is it 50-50 now? Over the years, people have...
Because people are changing over to these managed Medicare plans, which are offering them
More
yeah.
profit for them. They're
Right.
really more
Right.
money. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
You guys make, the providers make less.
we make much less
Absolutely.
Isn't that
money.
amazing
Absolutely.
how that works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And that's the
right.
trend you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Right.
in the
Yes.
paragraph. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're educating me for
Got it,
sure.
yep.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So currently, the next page, page 2, we currently have contracts with the following insurance companies. We do have contracts with Anthem, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, Oxford Health by United Healthcare, and Medicaid Husky.
Now, when I see those contracts, how does that benefit you or not benefit you? In other words, it's a good idea to have contracts.
Yeah, you have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have a number of contracts. If you lost 2 or 3 of these, that would be a bad idea.
That is
Absolutely.
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
We lost one contract a couple of years ago, and it was a terrible thing for us.
Okay.
Yeah. We lost Connecticut VIP, which we
Okay.
lost a good.
And you put
20
this under
patients
funding
in a shop.
sources, so those must be your funding sources? So you get paid by them?
Correct. Medicare should be,
And
traditional
Medicare,
Medicare
yeah.
should be under there as well.
Medicare, let's add it.
Traditional Medicare.
Traditional Medicare.
Right.
'Cause that is-
And all the managed Medicares.
So when we talk about there being a shift from traditional Medicare to managed plans, the managed plans comes in through those,
Correct.
violation on me,
Yes.
through those 6 or 7 names up at the top of the chart here?
Yes, because each of those
Roger.
has a commercial side and a
Yeah.
managed side.
Yep.
Managed
Okay.
Medicare side.
So they're in the these 6, Joe, are the managed, that's where we get the money from the
Managed
managed
Medicare,
plans.
or they could be commercial. If the person's young enough and have a commercial policy through their employer, these are the companies as well.
You better keep it 101 from me tonight. The beginner's course. Thank you.
Jim, do you have anything to add from what we said so far?
No, I'm going to expound on the numbers
Okay.
a little later.
Okay.
Good.
So this is where I started to talk about previously, and I'll get a little bit more into it now. So trends and changes. So with Medicare, like I said, the PPS is where we used to get reimbursed based on the number of therapy visits we did. So for our population, that really benefited us and it benefited the patient because we were able to provide all the therapies that they needed, and they would be able to rehab to the point where they didn't need therapy anymore, or they'd Then under PDGM, like I had said, that reimbursement again is through what I already discussed, the functional score, meaning how well they do their activities of daily living, whether it be bathing or dressing or ambulating around the house.
You told me earlier there are two umbrellas. I don't want to go crazy, but we're talking about a large amount of money here. Medicare and managed plans, right?
Correct.
So there's two flavors under Medicare. Is that what I'm seeing here?
The old way is PPS, which
Yep.
is number one.
Yep.
That's the old way of billing. The
Right.
new way of billing is PDGM.
But it does, that's within Medicare. That's not managed
That's
plans.
traditional
Correct,
Medicare.
traditional Medicare.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also, we might add that PPS began in the year 2000, and that ran until it was replaced by PDGM,
Yep.
which came into effect January 1, 2020. Okay, so PPS was around for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was like a law from Congress?
Yes, they changed from, Medicare went from cost reimbursement to episodic reimbursement, and that's PPS.
You're going to start showing us that when we get
That's
to the
right.
numbers, and you're
Yes.
going to talk about it. Okay.
So the important thing to note here is this PDGM began January 1 of 2020.
Yep, that's what I wrote down.
That date is
Yep.
critical.
Now,
Yeah,
we get
significant.
30% of the money up front and 70 at the time of discharge, okay? And it looks like you're not gonna get anything until you discharge. What practically does that do?
Actually, I have to correct that really
That
quick.
is, yeah, that's,
Oh, let's
that's
correct
the
it now.
wrong date.
Yeah, let me correct that. We actually, starting January 1, 2021, we no longer get any money right now.
So the time of discharge?
Up front.
So you need
Up
one cap
front,
to carry
up
that
front.
cost.
So
Yes.
it's starting in
So-
January
right.
21.
Wow.
So right
Starting
now.
January 1, 2021, correct.
Oh,
Yep.
Correct.
thank you.
Yes.
That's important.
Right. So we put out all of the money up front, we take care of the patient, and then we bill, right? And we wait almost a full 30 to 35 days after we send out that bill to
The
get
final
money
bill.
for that patient. And that's if you send a perfect bill, because
Well, hold on. But I see time of discharge. You're talking about getting money
After discharge, 30 to 45 days.
after
After
discharge.
discharge.
Bill them until they're discharged.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds
Can't
like
bill.
you're going to be forced into discharging people.
Forced into having one capital
It's
carry those costs.
very
for a while.
difficult to get
Yeah.
paid. It takes a very long time to get paid, I should say. It takes a very long time to get paid, and you need to have a perfect bill to get paid in that time frame.
Okay, you can't make any errors. Well, those
So
are
if
probably...
you have a person that you're treating for 6 months, January through June.
Carry the whole cost.
You carry that whole cost, and then you send a bill out, and if it's wrong, they reject it, so you correct it and send it out again. So depending on how good that bill is, you could either get paid 30 days after the person's discharged, which could be a long time because you're treating them for a long time.
Well, you're gonna bill every 30 days. You're gonna bill every 30 days. You don't have to wait for that discharge.
Oh,
You're gonna
okay.
bill every 30 days, okay? So I shouldn't have said, oh, you have to wait until they're discharged every time. I sorry,
Okay.
probably misspoke or
Well, let's cross it out.
Yeah, I don't know
No,
how
that's
I
fine.
said
We're taking it
that
off.
about
We-
the
that means
discharge.
it doesn't...
Did I
I
say
can't
after
do it
discharge?
in
Because I
word,
didn't
but-
mean to say that. After you bill every 30 days is the way that it goes now, okay? And after the 30 days is up, you send out the bill, right? It sits at what they call the common working file for however, it can be up to 5 days in the common working file, which is what they're doing there is they're checking for the eligibility of the patient.
Right.
They're checking to make sure this patient doesn't have a managed Medicare plan. They're
Right.
checking to make sure that the patient is eligible for Medicare. It has he has all of the benefits to get paid for this policy, right? Okay, fine. Now they've done all that. So then it sits on the payment floor for the final is going to sit on the payment floor for 28 days. It's just going to sit there
Right.
for 28 days before they're going to pay you. Okay? So you're talking 5 days for the common working file, 28 days on the payment floor. So 28 plus 5, you've got 32 days there, right? Then before they receive the file, you have to add a couple 2 days before that because you've sent an electronic file. So now you got a couple more days there. So we're talking what did I say, 35, 36, 37,
So
started out
3
to about
segments.
37
Yeah.
days.
5 days for
5 days for the common working file,
common working file, roger that,
28 days on the payment floor,
whatever that means, right? Don't explain it, all right?
2 days in the beginning before they receive the file,
2 at the front end,
at the very front end.
yep, 2, 5, 28, and the finish line?
And then at the very finish line, it's 2 days before you get the remittance and the actual check into your bank account.
Okay, and this is for every procedure to do to the
This
patient?
is for every 30-day period. Every
every
30-day period.
You, if I'm a patient and you did 7 things for me in
Yep.
that 30-day period, you'd add them up,
Yep.
and when's the go? In the 2-day period, the 2, 5, 28, or 2, or is that, that's when the gun goes off?
I can't go until I have every single doctor order signed.
I got that, but
When's the go? That's what I'm telling you.
At the end of the 30 days.
Yeah.
So like theoretically, the end of every month. You
so
send in
you've got to
your-
set up a
your
process to
accumulated
make sure you
bills.
have your ducks in order so that my 7 things at the end of that month start this process.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And,
And
right.
then you still don't get it for, let's say,
and still,
40
I
days.
still don't get it for all those days that I just gave you there.
Roger that, and that's new.
That's correct. No, that's not necessarily new.
Right.
Okay.
What is new is you don't get anything up front
Right.
Okay.
beginning this year.
And you used
Used
to
to
get
get
30%?
what is it?
70/30.
It used to be, yeah, it used to be 60/40.
60/40, you got 60% up
60%
front.
up front.
When
And
the
then-
patient was admitted, you could actually bill for 60% of that expected payment. So your cash flow is much better.
Right.
Yes.
And
Okay,
then
cash
40 at the end.
flow, and then, I don't know.
End
how you-
result is still relatively the same,
Yeah,
but it takes a lot longer to get the cash.
Right.
roger.
Okay, so understanding costs, so staff types. So we do have some positions within the, within OVNA that are regulated either by state or federal. The supervisor of clinical services, the administrator, and QAPI, which is basically a quality control performance improvement nurse who has to oversee to make sure that patients' goals are met, they're being discharged at an appropriate time, chart audits to help with being able to bill on time. She makes sure that all of those orders, she helps with all of making sure the orders are back, she's auditing the discharge chart, and she's doing all that work. Then we have the full-time nurses who get paid a salary. Right now we have 3. Then we have per diem nurses as well as therapists. Well, let me start with nurses. So we do have per diem nurses. So in the event that we get referrals and all of our full-time staff are busy and they can't take any more referrals, I would then call a per diem nurse who gets paid a per visit rate to go and do what needs to be done until that nurse that's full-time, that's salaried, can take the case over.
Roger.
All the therapists are basically paid per visit. They're not paid salary.
That's the per diem stuff? It's
Yes.
per visit?
And all of our therapists are per diem. We do not have any salaried
Okay.
therapists.
Per dis- Right.
Then we have full-time home health aides that get paid hourly, and they're guaranteed 32 hours a week. We have had only one home health aide. We had a home health aide leave.
How many full-time? FFA?
One right
Thank
now,
you,
yes.
thank
But
you.
in our budget, we actually have 2, but I've been trying to replace it so it doesn't interfere with referrals, but I'm having a very difficult time hiring staff at this point. But anyway, we
Okay.
do have 2, but I'm not super quick to get that person hired only because our census is so low.
Okay.
Then we have that's regulated also is on-call services. So the state of Connecticut wants to make sure that if a patient calls at any day, time, they can reach somebody that can get back. So a nurse or therapist can get back to them depending on the type of question that they have, or if they're having issues, medical issues.
Operationally, how do you handle that?
Well, right now, I do most of the on-call.
So your cell phone goes off?
Pretty much, I do almost all the on-call, yes. I do have, coverage if I have to take a day off or I'm on vacation. Other nurses will step in and do that.
Is this a big deal? In other words, this happens all the time? I mean,
Yeah, it's a big deal in the sense of I get a lot of calls from patients needing to be guided. Do I go to the emergency room? Should I just call the doctor? Can you
you
call the
ever
doctor?
then discharge a per diem resource to go to that person?
I didn't understand your
Do you,
question.
do you send a nurse to?
When someone
to a
calls
visit?
you,
Yeah.
do you...
It depends on the circumstance.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, did you ever, was my...
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Did
yes.
you ever? I mean, we're
Yes.
trying to
Yes,
do
I
this
have.
mass thing today.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yes, I
All
have
right.
sent
All
out
good.
nurses
Okay.
if needed, but most
Great.
of the time, to be honest with you, when they call, it's usually an
Okay.
issue where they have to go to
Thank
the
you.
emergency room. Then we have the major categories, obviously, are salaries, benefits, that's a huge cost.
Yep.
Like I've discussed before, wound supplies for patients, and medical supplies that we can't bill, that's just considered part of the cost of business.
Has that changed over time, that last category?
No. No.
Just under
well,
Medicare, but
yes.
otherwise, no. Yeah, with the
Right.
private
Under traditional
insurances, they've
Medicare,
always
we
been
used to
part
be
of
able
the
to
contract.
even bill for gloves, but we can't bill any of that now.
Okay, good.
Then we have fixed versus variable.
We might as well wait till we see the chart, so
Okay.
why don't we do that?
Okay.
Yep.
And then other important aspects, like I said, some of the positions are regulatory. It's not like you can just get rid of those positions if we feel we want to cut our costs and salary. Some positions aren't necessarily regulated, but they help to keep the regulations where they need to be so that we're compliant with state and federal
Right.
regulations.
Okay.
And then we have organizational performance.
We'll go
Again,
through
that's
that.
something that Jim will cover.
Yep. By the way, how many other towns have this municipal agency? Are we unique?
Well, at one time, there was probably a dozen to 15
Uh-huh.
in the state of Connecticut, and it's down to probably about 5 at this point.
Can you just name one that we would recognize as a town that does this?
Berlin VNA,
Berlin.
and I think Old Saybrook Public Health Nursing Association is still a town agency as well.
Okay, thank you. And they're having the same kind of issues, you think, that we're talking? Do you work with them?
I work with Berlin VNA,
Uh-huh.
and yes, all the agencies are, yes,
Okay, thank you.
freestanding and otherwise.
When you say once upon a time, 12 to 15, when was that year, once upon a time?
10 years ago.
Thank you. No, 5. Okay, thank you. Lisa?
So operational issues, like Anna explained, the tough part is it's not like we have a product, we know exactly how much it costs for that product, and then you add on what you need to make off that product. We have to provide the care, and then we get paid. And we never know exactly how much we're going to get paid after we provide that care.
Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to explain as well is when Medicare came up with this PDGM, one of the things that they didn't take into consideration with the functional status is any of the social issues of that patient. So many times, the population that we take care of, they don't have a caregiver, or they have a very limited caregiver. They don't have transportation to go to outpatient. The goal for us is to take care of a patient, get them as independent as they can, so that they can then go to outpatient and use the next level of the healthcare system. Many times we can't do that. We end up going in there, and remember, every 30 days, your reimbursement goes down. But yet we still have to keep that patient because they're not able to get that next level. There's obstacles in the way. We refer them to the town, to the senior center. We give them names of places that, would provide them transportation at a low cost. But that's also an operational issue that I didn't actually write down here.
Okay.
That is something to consider. So corrective actions, I joined the VNA in July of 19, and at that point, PDGM was going to be taking effect January of 20. So I started researching and doing my homework and training them way back then to explain to them that the mindset has to change with the way that we take care of patients, and to try to do as much as we can at every visit and provide less visits.
Now, when you say they, we obviously are talking about the 3 full-time nurses And the per diem nurses that
Right,
you
the
have.
whole clinical staff that goes out
And
and
if
sees
you had to
patients.
ballpark guess the per diem nurse base, less than 100?
Oh, we're very
Oh,
small, yeah.
yeah.
We're talking like.
10?
Right now, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 per diem nurses.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And so when we're training staff, we're talking about that group of 6.
And the therapist.
And the therapist,
Yes.
Oh, that was in the category per diem nurses, physical.
There.
Sorry,
That's all right,
I'm back
that's
at that
okay.
line and back on page 2 where it says per diem nurses. I thought that all of that was per diem.
It is.
Oh.
Well, the therapists are
All
also
the
per diem.
therapists are all per diem,
But
but
they
basically,
provide
if
a
you look
different
at it this way, all the clinicians that go into the field to take care of the staff, all the licensed ones, all the therapists, all the nurses, all these changes, they started being educated back in 2019.
When you say training staff, how many people are we talking about?
All right, so we have
About, just ballpark it.
10.
Thank you. All good, thank you.
So you would think the model would be simpler where you have a person going to do a visit for an hour, just say. You pay $50 an hour, you charge $100 an hour. It's not the way it works.
No.
At all. It should be simple.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know what your
It's not
reimbursement would be.
private. Like dealing with insurance.
Yeah,
Right,
no.
right.
You pay 50, you get paid 40 sometimes.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So later on, when
Especially
Jim-
now with Medicare.
right.
And we won't get into what will happen if we have Medicare for all. Then
Yeah, right.
we won't have any doctors for anyone.
Okay, Lisa, continue. Sorry,
Right, so
I got
one
you
of
off
the
track.
things that Jim will start to show you on the reports that was
Yep.
super important for me as the administrator was to really oversee every clinician and discuss with them what are the needs of the patients, what has been achieved, what still hasn't been achieved. Can you do this in 3 more visits? Can you do this in 5 more visits? Can you do it in 1 visit and then discharge? So I meet with every clinician that goes into the field to take care of our patients. I meet with them weekly, one-on-one. We go through every one of their patients and we talk about a plan. What is the plan of attack here? How are we going to get this patient to where they need to be in a timely manner, providing the least amount of visits that we can, safely discharge.
SW, is there some code there?
Social work.
Social work.
Social
Thank you. Initiate social work. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and that is one of the things that sometimes helps, is getting a social worker involved
Okay.
for long-term planning, to see what community resources we can hook the patients up
Which
with.
you commented about a minute ago. Thank you.
Yep. So again, like I had said, one of the focuses is for the clinicians to start thinking about, we're not going to take care of them at home until they're 100%. We're going to take care of them at home till they can safely be discharged. One, as a priority, hopefully, if they have the availability to go outpatient, or can be safely discharged within
So there
their
must
home.
be a time factor here. In other words, the amount of time that a patient stays in, what I'll call the process. You're really trying to shrink that time. You have no option really.
Right.
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 Exactly. A certification period for a patient when they come onto our services is 60 days. We bill every 30, but the orders that we get signed by the physician are for 60 days. So we try to accomplish everything we can as fast as we can. Our average right now is 45 days that a patient is in our services still.
That's a good metric to try.
We've even made some changes in office systems to help increase the flow of paperwork so that nothing gets held up and Anna can bill on time, which has at times been challenging with the positions that we have open. But we've been doing pretty good lately. One of the other things we did is we had our liaison, Terry, was very, very involved with the COVID clinics with the Board of Health in Orange. It basically turned into a full-time position for her, and eventually had to pull her out. When our patients in Orange, our high-risk patients, were vaccinated, and we were down to probably maybe the 40-50 age group, I had to pull her out. Our goal was to do high-risk patients because
Right.
I needed her back in the office. I needed her as the liaison. At that point, facilities started to open up their doors a little bit and let us go in occasionally and evaluate a patient and just show our face. So during COVID, it was difficult because we couldn't really do a whole lot of marketing and we couldn't really go to facilities to evaluate patients. So we're starting that up now. I'm meeting with Terry on a week to every other week basis to make a plan of attack in the sense of where are we going to go, who are we going to concentrate on seeing, to put our face before them for referrals.
Okay.
The other thing that's really beneficial to the discharge planners is going into the SNFs, the long-term care facilities, and the rehab facilities and actually evaluate that patient before they're discharged so that they don't have quite as much work to do. We're doing some of the work, and that's part of the clinical liaison's position.
When I see the words, this usually increases referrals, what does that mean?
Because we're making it,
What happens as a result of increasing referrals?
we get more
We get more
referrals.
patients.
Thank you, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we want. That's what we need.
All right, so corrective actions talk about training and mindset. There's 10 staff, right? Your office system, you're looking at your processes, how can you do it more efficiently? All right? Particularly targeting this one particular resource, I believe you used the name Terry, all right,
Yes.
to do this, and hey, don't get
She's
in
our
love with
liaison.
that. You don't get over here.
Right.
And the other thing is you're getting on site a little bit more for things that will benefit your organization, your business, to give it a
Correct.
name.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They also wanted her to, the Orange Health Department really wanted to start giving the boosters, the third vaccines, and I just said there's no way we can right now. We have positions open, and we need to concentrate on OVNA.
Okay, good.
So I said no to that. So really for forecast and plan, one of the biggest things, like I just talked about, is we have to maintain our census. So Terry is going to be doing more on-site visits, dropping off cookies, platters, or this or that to offices and places that we want to maintain that relationship with. Because to be honest with you, I've worked in a lot of different home care companies over the years. I have never, ever, ever worked with a group of staff like we have at the Orange VNA. They are absolutely, clinically, they're excellent. They truly have a heart to take care of the patients. It's not just a paycheck for them. And there's very few places that I could honestly say all the staff are that way, as well as the office staff. I mean, we treat the business like our own. So I have to say that is definitely on our side.
Even while you try to change the mindset.
Yes, because they know that that's part of survival right now.
Okay, good. All right, I think we got it.
And obviously, with getting more patients in, I'll be able to keep them at their quotas, because remember, the 3 full-time nurses are salaried. So they base their salary on 5 visits a day. So if they're only doing 2 or 3, they're still getting the same salary.
We're well aware of that. We're going to get to the numbers in a minute.
I know. So,
It's definitely a problem.
Houston?
and then I'm going to continue, obviously, with close oversight with the clinicians, keeping
Right.
visits at their minimum, keeping Terry in the community marking, increasing our exposure, and carefully review our referrals as needed. Now, I don't want to say a whole lot here,
Understood.
but we have to be very careful that we're able to provide the care without losing a lot of money.
Understood. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually, because your stuff is sideways,
Yes.
I didn't want to stop. I'm trying to minimize, so I created a new file. It's the same file, really.
Okay.
But it has the numbers on it. And
Right.
so we can get right to it without the audience at home having to go through a lot of, and even ourselves. So, I mean, look, here we are. We're looking at revenue. We have we look like we're agency net profit has gone from a positive down to over 400. By the way, people at home, this is why we're here. All right, and this is for. Is this a calendar year, 2020?
No, this is a fiscal year. So
this
the
is
fiscal year, June 30th,
2000. So there's another year.
2020, right?
Yeah. So where are we in 2021? Because we already passed June.
Okay, I will answer that.
Just verbally is good enough.
Okay, so as it was mentioned, I'm Jim McPherson, and I'm a CPA and partner with Peach McPherson, a CPA firm in North Haven.
Right.
Our firm specializes in providing accounting services to home care agencies such as the OVNA. Each year, our firm is contracted by Orange VNA to prepare and file the Medicare cost report, which is required to be filed annually. As part of your Medicare participation, the agency must file that report. The cost report must be filed by November 30th of each year.
Okay.
So basically, we're in the process now of starting to accumulate the information for that report. But in addition, as an added benefit to Orange VNA and to its board, our firm prepares a summary report each year that provides a comparison of certain financial information, which is what you're looking at here. So we prepare that summary, and we include the last 5 years in that report.
Right.
Okay?
So this is the last one you have?
This is the last one we actually have. So we don't have any final information for the current year, but I will tell you what I've seen so far.
Okay.
Obviously, we have a sharp decline in the revenues in 2020. If you look up at the top, you can see the revenues were only slightly over $1 million in 2020. Prior to that, we were at 1.5, almost 1.5, et cetera. So you can see the revenues have dropped. Expenses have pretty much held steady.
Correct.
And then we carve out the school program because that's not part of the home care program at all. So you can basically ignore that.
But that has been steady over the last year as well.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Okay.
So the concern is the bottom line of the loss of $427,222. So the question becomes, how much of an impact did COVID-19 have on the sharp decline in the revenues? Was this a one-year event, or was it that was totally driven by the coronavirus, or is it a trend in the new normal? Okay? So unfortunately, as I said, we can't answer that with certainty tonight, but what I can do is give you some preliminary information.
Great.
It does look like that the fiscal year 2021 will most likely mirror the fiscal year 2020 numbers, and that includes the bottom line.
Okay, well, let's take them one by one. How about revenue? Is it about $1 million?
Correct.
All right. Costs are still somewhere in the vicinity of $2 million?
Yes, these are ballpark numbers, of course, because we haven't accumulated them.
Even though I heard the words, don't worry about the number behind the curtain, which on 2020 says 529. That's a lot of money. What's going on with the school programs? I see they've gone from 338 to 529.
Well, the school program is a separate and distinct core of service.
That comes under OVNA?
That comes under OVNA that the town must provide to the school program, school nurses.
That's basically in our budget, Jim, in our general fund budget. That's the salaries of the nurses. Because of COVID and some of the year, they had to increase their hours because of what they had to do over there.
So it's in our regular budget right now?
It's in our regular budget.
In the K-6 budget? The OVOE?
No, in the town budget.
In the town budget.
We pay for the nurses.
Okay, so when we go through the expenses tonight, you can show me where exactly that is. I'm probably right in front of my eyes, I just don't know it. Thank you.
But because it's a program within OVNA, we have to include it on the cost report.
Understood.
But it's a separate cost center, okay? So we're really looking at the programs and the revenues up above that. When we look at our information for this year, it does look like the revenues have held around $1 million, which is, if you look at 2020 compared to 2019, the total revenue is only 68% of the 19 numbers, okay? So now we say 2021, which is a 12-month period of time that started July 1, 2020, that included coronavirus period of time as well.
Right.
Obviously, we're at a point where we're still dealing with the coronavirus. However, I think we've all learned to deal with it a little bit better and go about our business and hopefully generate more volume. But we don't think the coronavirus is the sole cause of this reduced revenue.
Nor do I.
Nor do you. Okay. So, and that's where I say that those factors primarily relate to Medicare, which is what Lisa has talked about.
All right.
So I'm going to tell you that, first of all, the Medicare reimbursement methodology, as you know, changed to PDGM as of January 1, 2020, which is what we talked about.
All right.
The coronavirus hit us in March of 2020, so we had about 4 months of operation within the coronavirus period. So that obviously had a negative effect. So
When
I
you're saying
think,
there's a negative effect, it doesn't seem to affect costs. So it has to be on the revenue side, right?
correct.
Okay.
And the town actually received about $55,000 of reimbursement from the federal government, from the CARES Act, for the Orange VNA, because they understood that healthcare entities were getting hurt financially. That includes the CARES Act monies went to hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, rehab
So we have a
facilities.
couple of more than one variable going on, and that's what we're talking about, and that's what we should talk about. We're going to solve problems. How much, if there was no COVID, would the shift from PPS to PDGM, and we'll correct the wrong date, right,
Say that
Lisa?
again, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Anna. My grandma. She killed me. God bless her soul. So, how much would that have impacted our revenue? Can we get, is it bigger than a bread bar? Give me a thought on that.
We really can't. I mean, they both happened at the same time in the same year. I mean, it's coincidental that that happened at that point in time.
Well, here's where I'm going with that, because it seems to me, okay, so COVID goes away. I need to know, right?
Right.
We can't, $500,000 every year.
No good.
That's why we're spending the time here, right?
Yeah.
No,
All
you're
of us. And I know
absolutely right.
you're busting heavies, and God bless, we want to learn from you, and I know we have lots more to learn. But that's why we're spending the time here, right?
No, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Right.
We got to solve the problem.
So
Okay, I'm sorry.
let me talk about that a little bit further and expand on what Lisa talked about.
Okay. Is any of these charts going to help, or should we stay on this one? You know what's in here, right?
No, stay on this one, please.
Okay, thank you.
So Medicare reimbursement, as I said, is under the PDGM system rather than the PPS system. Historically, Orange VNA, as well as many other home care agencies, were able to generate profits under the PPS reimbursement system. These Medicare profits would help to offset the losses the agency was incurring from other payment sources, such as private insurance and Medicaid, as Lisa talked about.
Okay. And private insurance, are those the categories? at the
Yes,
top of the
all of
page,
those,
right?
correct.
Okay, got
Exactly.
it. Roger.
It appears that it may be more difficult to generate the same level of profits under this new Medicare reimbursement system, PDGM. However, it will take time to assess that, since it's new, and Orange VNA will need to manage their Medicare patients very closely and monitor their new reimbursement on an ongoing basis. But based upon my discussions with Orange VNA management, it appears that they are already doing that, and hopefully we can continue to improve efficiencies and reduce costs to improve the Medicare bottom line. So Lisa did talk about that, how she's meeting with the staff, cases case by case, day by day, in an effort to reduce costs and reduce visits where she can. A second factor involving Medicare is that it appears that Orange VNA's Medicare under traditional Medicare to help to generate a profit to offset the losses under the other payers.
Okay.
To generate a profit to offset the losses under the other payers
Okay. And so these are factors you're talking about in the revenue side,
on the revenue side.
right?
Now, on the expense side,
Roger.
it does appear that the agency will come in under budget by about 25% and possibly $400,000 under budget on the expense side,
In 2021?
2021, under budget. Typically, they come in under budget, but not by that much money.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Is your budget $2 million? What is your budget for 2000?
For expenses?
Yeah.
It's,
Ballpark.
I believe it's $2 million.
No, let's call it $2 million.
What are you
Put it
looking
tonight.
for?
this year's budget for OVNA.
Yeah, I have it, hold on.
Oh, okay, while you're looking it up. But you're thinking it's coming in on 400 less?
Yes. The town reports actually
Well,
You got the
identified
one
that.
that I sent you with the updated, with the benefits included though, right, Jim? That's the one that you said you got from me or no?
She's talking to Jim.
Once they included the benefits, it was 71%.
Yes.
And then once they included the benefits, it went up to 90.
Okay, so that was the shift of the dollars that you're talking, yeah. So
Yeah,
I think maybe,
Actually, I don't have it on me. I thought I did. I'm sorry, I
Well,
don't.
The
Yeah.
budget that ended, I think, 6/30 was
Yeah,
1.5
630.
million.
Yeah.
That was 1.5.
Yeah, it was about, yeah, it was right about 1.5, yeah, yeah.
so 1.5, but that's what goes through the budget, because we have additional expenses that we have to include on the cost report that are included in this report, such as facility costs, custodial costs, payroll costs, et cetera. So the budgeted number is not the number that, that ends up on this report here that you're looking at.
Yep.
So anyway, that savings, I still do not believe is going to get us back to break even, which is what I think you're trying to get at.
Yeah, it was 339.
We've got
Yeah.
more than one meeting going on, so let them settle that. We good, John? Yeah. Okay, so all of this is, we'll be diving into this probably offline more. We got a revenue and opportunities for COVID will go away, and now we'll see. Implement those corrective actions you said, and we'll see. But on the expense side, if this is the P&L for this organization, and right now the town has to put 427 or somewhere close, I'm trying to get just a forecast of where we are in 21. I've heard you say it's about $1 million in revenue, plus or minus, and it's a little bit of a this, but it's not 1.3. I don't hear anybody voting for that. And I thought I heard someone say if I saw one of these for a column that's not to be printed yet, for 2021, it would probably be closer to 2 million than not. That's what I heard. And also I'm
Yes.
hearing that it's
Yes.
about 500,000, although the school program's going up. But let's just among friends call it another 530, which would mean for this year, that's already ended, and we've already started another year, we are also going to have another 427 in the hole. Am I understanding that right?
That's correct. Again, but again, you have to remember that you did get some CARES money, so you should probably subtract 55,000 off of that 427.
Okay, so now it's 375. We still got the same problem.
Right. So I came up with a plan of action from a number side.
Roger that.
Okay. So these are preliminary numbers.
Oh, good.
Okay, we're going to finalize these numbers when we prepare the cost report within the next couple months. And we'll see if, in fact, the 2021 numbers do mirror the 2020 numbers. And if that trend is, in fact, continuing, to what degree. So is it coming down, trending up?
Okay.
And then I'm proposing that we prepare a 5-month cost report for the period July 1, 2021.
Which would become the
start
first
of-
5 months of 22.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want to wait all the way until the end of 22.
What a concept.
So 5 months should be representative of that year. We can get those results in probably January or early February to see if that trend is continuing. Because the 2021 year started all the way back in July of 2020 when we were.
The case that we're still in COVID.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Robbie.
So I think, this period of time, this 5-month period, cost report would start with July 1, 2021, and we get a feel of where we are currently. Okay?
Okay.
In addition, Orange VNA will continue its efforts to market the services to the doctor's office, SNFs, and hospitals, as Lisa talked about, to increase our admissions. Because if we get additional admissions, we're going to do additional services and additional billing, obviously. So that will increase our revenues. And then finally, the management team of Orange VNA must continue to closely monitor the Medicare volume and Medicare reimbursement on an ongoing basis, and attempt to continue to improve efficiencies and reduce costs under this PDGM system, because we're still learning about it.
Okay.
Okay, and then the final thing I would like to say is that in summary, Orange VNA has obviously been negatively impacted by the coronavirus to some degree, but we believe they are also impacted by what has happened with Medicare. However, these are issues that are not at all unique to Orange VNA, but are industry-wide issues. Most other home care agencies are dealing with the exact same issues that Orange VNA is dealing with, and those agencies must also continue to closely monitor their patient services and reimbursement.
It was mentioned that there were 10 of these, formerly 10 of these agencies, municipal agencies. Now there are 5, 2 of which you work with, sir, and Berlin and Old Saybrook. Is there I mean, I'd get those 5 people in a room and very quickly and do a best practice. What are you learning, you know? I mean, this is war.
At one time, there was
I mean, we got to figure this out.
There was a group, I don't know if it still exists, of the municipal agencies that used to meet, but I don't know if that still is going on.
You know, how do you handle that? I mean,
I don't
phone
think
call
that
type
it
of
is
stuff, you know?
because they're. I don't think that it is because they are reduced so small because there were 5 and then there were 4 and now there's like what?
Yeah.
Are there 4 left or are there 3?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's down to like 3 now. But I know that when Judy was here and there were 5, they used to talk. It used to be monthly, and then it was every 3 months, and then it was every quarter, and
Okay, so we can get this document too, right?
Right.
Because it sounds like you already have something prepared that for
Yes.
the organization.
Sure.
So we can learn that. How about the rest of these? A lot of these, it's an Excel sheet that cuts it like 9 different ways, but I think there might be something useful, Joe. I think you were mentioning costs on the next sheet, just so that we understand
I
it.
mean, I have a few questions about, are there larger economic forces here at work?
Well,
It sounds like this is just, like Gail's buying some smaller VNAs, the referrals are going to them, not you. It's heavier competition for sure. But a question I had while we're talking, is Medicare or the government behind the switch to managed care plans to save themselves money, you think?
I do. If you watch the TV and you look at the commercials,
They spend a lot of money on those
it's very,
commercials.
very, very enticing. But when you look at the bottom line of what they're really getting and can get, most of the time it's less than your traditional PDGM. So they're taking the same amount of
But
money.
more profit for them versus Medicare.
Well, who's the them, Joe?
Yes.
I mean, them meaning these managed care companies.
Companies, absolutely.
I mean, they're in it for profit, of course. But yeah.
Was that the 6 at the top of the page?
Well, they
Plus
participate in that.
many more.
But many more.
Private
But that's a
companies.
good. That's
Yeah.
a good when I see that. Those are the
Yeah, there's
others.
something
Blah,
larger
others.
here.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, it's issues, yes, obviously with income and expenses. You didn't cut the expenses enough, but you can't, and I understand it. But I think there's a much bigger picture going on here where there's,
Right, and one of the things I kind of wanted to take a look at, Jim, I just want to make sure that you agree with me on page 2. How it said, the very bottom, it says Medicare PPS profit percentage.
Which page 2 of his document?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Let me get to there so that
Yep.
the audience at home can,
This one.
because it's their money what we are talking about here. Is this the page we are talking about?
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes. The one thing that I was obviously I was very upset when I saw the loss. However, the one thing that I was happy with is with all of the changes in the PDGM and the education that was done,
Yes.
we pretty much, and I think Jim, you even said that, we pretty much broke even with Medicare PDGM. That's good in a way because it shows that we're managing it, but the problem with that is we're not getting enough PDGM business because we used to make a ton of money on the PDGM.
Hold on.
Or on
Let me get my brain
the
back.
traditional Medicare, I should say. I'll say
Sorry.
traditional.
The profit percentages are listed on the bottom of
No,
page
Right.
2.
Okay, so there's been a shift from PPS to PDGM
Correct.
that has been less beneficial in the overall.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But, however, I'm just, because we flipped them so that we could have I don't know what this is.
But switching from PPS to PDGM,
Right.
we still pretty much broke even.
But this says
that's
profit
not
on
what we
Medicare
need to do.
PPS, not on PPG.
Yes, it should say,
Or,
for-
it
for-
depends
yeah.
on the year.
2020 is when.
'Cause it didn't exist in those other
PDG
years.
Oh,
Right,
thank you.
PDGM
So
didn't
it's
start
6
till
months, right?
the
Okay.
last 6 months of
So
2020.
you at least broke even, but then we have to talk about cost allocations here.
Right.
Right?
Well, you broke even, but we relied on the profits of Medicare to
Exactly.
cover the losses. So now we don't have the profits on
Profits.
Medicare to cover those losses. So
Right.
those losses are rearing their ugly head, basically.
Yeah, what the other
Right.
plans are paying is insufficient. And
Okay.
and unfortunately,
Correct.
that's not going to change.
Right.
Okay. And this 775, I think I saw that number. It's coming up. Is there anything useful in the next? Yeah, you can see your patients are down.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah,
episodes.
significantly.
Yeah.
Look at your visits
huge-
performed way down.
That's a huge thing you guys are missing is that our patients are down significantly.
Our census.
Okay,
Our
but they're-
census is down significantly.
Okay, but
That's
I'll give
something
you,
that
hold on.
everyone needs
Okay,
to notice.
we're all going to look at the same numbers, and we're
Okay.
all going to agree what we see.
Okay.
122 from 152 or thereabouts is down 20%. We're not talking about a 20% issue here. Just saying. So it has to be another factor. I thought your argument might be, Anna, look how much the visits went down, because they went down, I think, more than 20%. I was thinking that was one of the key variables. I don't know. I don't do this.
Well, it's part of
I'm
the
searching for
equation.
solutions with you, okay?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what I'm doing.
Right.
I mean, I may come across whatever, but that's where my heart's at. Okay?
Yep.
So, I'm just trying to understand, when I look at these pages, and now we got one to flip the other way, but these are only ratios on this page, right, Jim? Pretty much, or is there a reason?
It's a summary of the Medicare cost report, but there's a lot of data there. There really.
No, it's easy to understand. This isn't rocket science.
It's the calculation of the 1%. If you see the 0.57.
Yes.
Okay, that equates to I rounded that to 1%.
No,
so that
understood.
profit percentage used to be much higher.
Yeah.
But to Anna's point, she's saying our patients are down 20%, but our Medicare revenue is down 30%. So they go hand in hand. They're just not identical. And part of that could be the delay in collection of revenues as well, because we're not able to bill up front.
Understood, but when you're on half, I don't, your timing ain't going to get you.
I understand. But, obviously there's a COVID factor and there's a PDGM factor. How much is each piece? It's too hard to tell.
What's the marketing strategy going forward? Obviously, you need to bring in more revenue, and so that needs to be your strategic vision. Say, okay, how are we go? More referrals, go after more doctors and these businesses that send you business. You need more of those sending you business again.
Yes.
Can you sustain that? And can we handle losses of $500,000 annually? The answer is obviously no. We can't do that.
Right.
But again, is there more competition? Is Yale buying? The referrals are going to Yale versus you guys. Something else is happening here, obviously. Because you got COVID, you got PDGM, PPS, but it's also competitive forces. It seems like too.
Yeah.
And we're a municipality trying to run a health care agency. It's passe. It sounds like. It sounds like it's passe based on there's only a few of us left doing this in the state because, as we know, government doesn't run businesses very well. That's just the way it works. And like I always say, government's not run like a business. I've been saying that for years. It's just the way it works. And we're not doing a great job running the VNA for whatever the reasons are. But so we need to see what are the options here. After we get through the numbers, what are the options? Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I want to dig a little deeper into this cost.
Can I ask you one thing before we go on? The American Recovery Act, I think that's the one that was passed in March, gave a lot of cities and towns revenue to use for different things. And I think there's a spot in there that talks about revenue lost. Is there a way that we could cover some of this or all of this loss by using that formula in there? Are you familiar with that?
No, not specifically, but we talked about the health district did get some money or is supposed to get some money allocated to it from the federal government, which they should share with the Orange VNA, which ultimately is the town of Orange, because it's for health, specifically for healthcare services. So there is a piece of that should be going to the health district, and I don't know if there's a formal application process or if that's an automatic
I
happening.
think
but
what happened with that money, it just went to the general fund
yeah.
for the betterment of the town. But I'm sitting on a pot of money that I could use. Well, it's very specific on what you could use for. But one of the things is for lost revenue. If you could look at that.
Okay.
And see if we could, there's a formula there, and I think it takes a 3-year average of revenue and stuff. If we could use that to cover 6/30/20 and 6/30/21, I think the Board of Selectmen has a say in that, but I think they'd be agreeable to covering some of that.
And that's healthcare specific, isn't it? Or
It
not?
talks about different
It
revenue
talks about
pots
revenue
for
loss, yeah.
government.
It's vague like everything else in these bills. and
Yeah,
Then they try to fix them.
right.
You know, I've seen the freestanding agencies, of course, get PPP loans, and they get them forgiven, but OVNA doesn't qualify for that. And I don't know if municipalities qualify for that.
I think in this case, like, it talks about parking revenue and park and rec revenue, like the pool being closed. I mean, for this town, there's no parking revenue. Park and rec revenue is nothing. But we're talking about a big revenue stream here. We're just looking at your
Yeah.
report. So if you could look at that, and maybe you and I could talk about that, if we could cover some of that.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, here's what I have to look at this 1975 number, okay? Because you've told me that has remained the same in this calendar year that we've now finished, 21, which ended June 30th of 21. And we're gonna have a report at 5 months into the next year. We have an organization that revenue's gone down and costs haven't moved an inch. Okay? So, I mean, you got to look at the costs. I mean, I don't know how you don't. And I know you have.
It's come down to 1543, so it's come down by $400,000.
Well, hold on. This number 1975
Yes.
is the exact same 1975 total that's sitting right there.
That was 2020, so you were talking about 2021, you're
Okay,
saying.
hold on. But we all, I thought, agreed, and I'll be happy to change my notes and my mind, and I'm working with you to try to solve it. I thought I heard everybody agree that first cut on that document you'll send us says that it probably in the last year of 21 stayed at $1 million for revenue. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought we agreed that the number for the total cost line would also be about $2 million.
No, it's
What?
going to be about 1.5.
Well, we're
Why?
going to come in under budget through the town budget, but there's
Okay.
additional expenses that get added to that budget number
What?
that get reported on the cost report.
Oh,
And they get backed out with some of the school programs.
Well, the overhead gets allocated to the school programs, but like I said before, some of those costs are the cost of the building that they occupy. That doesn't go through their budget, I believe. The custodial cost for that building doesn't go through there.
so Jim,
The finance department cost
they
we
put
add
the
in.
salary and benefits in already to this number,
Well, we can look at the number. It's sitting right here in the next, when I slide down
right?
to it.
John, I'm sorry, can you show me the colored budget again?
That's why it's preliminary numbers. Until we have the cost
Yeah,
report
no, I just
finalized.
want Jim to know that it's not 2 million this year.
Okay.
Because we purposely were very mindful of being under budget this year, and we
Okay.
were.
So here's a-
71%.
All we're doing is talking over
Okay.
water, not even a beer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Anna. Here's the 1975 for last year.
I understand, because that was a gross number. That was a terrible number. I was sickened by that number. I couldn't understand why that number was what it was. I was absolutely disturbed by
help
it.
me understand.
That was your budget. That's what we're showing.
With the benefits included, correct? Yes. So with the benefits included, Jim, it comes out to 1445684. So it's gonna go higher than that?
I think we'll come in maybe slightly below the 2 million,
Okay,
but I don't think it's gonna come in at 1.5.
okay, all right. Thank
Maybe
you, I
split the difference?
apologize.
No, we're
Thank
working
you.
as a
I
team.
just didn't hear the two of you having that side conversation.
No, because if that was going to be 1.5, I was going to say, okay,
Yeah.
where did it come from?
Okay.
If it's not going to be
okay.
that, then that's
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah,
So we can all agree then that we still have the same problem that we're seeing here on 20 that's going to be for the end of the year on 21. Has to be.
That's the educated guess.
Okay. So everything,
COVID
necessity
started in
has to be the mother of
2020,
invention
so it was at the
here.
end of that year.
And this is necessity. Seems to me. And I'd be happy to help. I'm retired now. I don't know if you want it, but I'm willing to talk it through with you or whatever. I'm sorry, Kevin, I've gone on too long, so you tell me how long to talk. I mean, but I'll tell you this. I will tell you this. I don't understand some stuff on this page. And that's code. I don't understand how benefits for what is not full-time people are at 46%. I don't even know how benefits for full-time people are 56%. These are this numbers right here, 50%, 6% of the salary. I don't get it. Now, I'm sure that somebody added up a group of numbers, but conceptually I don't get it. Okay? I could be 100% wrong. I hope. I'm not saying right's and wrong. I'm just saying when I look at data, right, and you got a problem to solve, everything's fair game. Everything. You know, and that's in the spirit of trying to solve the problem. That's all. You know, so when I look at this chart, I don't even know what I'm looking at. You know, why 58% over here for schools? 137 over 238. That's a large number. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, and you know, but you know, it doesn't make it any. It doesn't. There's no so therefores. It's just that I'm looking at numbers.
Do we have a percentage that the town?
The town treasurer's got some kind of formula that he does for that. I could probably get a copy of what he did for the current year, the 339.
For the benefits?
Yeah.
Yeah, because even the
that is-
total down
Well,
here,
you look at, you know,
41.
This is taxes and benefits too. Keep in mind. So
Yeah.
It's gotta
taxes
be-
is 10%. Right
health
off the bat.
insurance increased by 10 to 30% a year for
That's
5
probably
years,
what
right?
a lot of it is.
That's where you are.
That's probably
And it
what a
really,
lot
it's
of
not
it
the
is.
old days of, you know, family health care, $7,000 a year. It's now 27,000.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you just
Well, you're
see it.
working the issue. Okay. You're working the issue.
So keep in mind, these numbers are not audited numbers either. They're compiled numbers from information that we gather from the town, from the agency, from Medicare. So there's no audited numbers here, except what the town auditors do.
Well, John, when an organization, OVNA, has a shortfall, as we're seeing here, does that mean that our piggy bank, what's it called again, our capital fund?
Our fund
General fund.
General fund balance,
Has to cover.
has to pay out 427 to cover this?
Basically, we have
Sure.
to reduce it to cover this.
Sure you do. How much you gonna cover?
The only other,
It's a real
we
loss.
have to cover the fund balance or the general fund has to cover every special fund that the town has.
Okay.
Now, up until this point, the only other fund where we had a negative balance was the school cafeteria fund, which you guys might remember, it was about 80,000 and they reduced it to about 70 in the last 5 years that I've been here. And they hope to continue to reduce it. Now, that's a small fund and a small amount of money, so, and they pretty much kept it steady for all these years. This is a different story here.
Right. Well, I guess that's why we meet.
If you also remember, I think probably, Joe, you were the only one that wasn't here. At one time, the VNA was part of the general fund, and their budget was in the town budget, and Mr. Chiarenzelli pulled it out and made it a special, I think they call it enterprise fund, is that what they call it now?
I know there was talk about it becoming an enterprise fund, and I didn't know if it actually did or not.
He did it.
Okay.
He did it.
But it is like a department of the town, and you have to cover the expenses of every department in the town. But again, this was a COVID year. Some of it could be related to COVID. And I think the organization will improve on that bottom line. I'm just saying that I don't think it's going to happen until 2022, what we're in right now.
Okay. Okay, but we're going to have a 5-month report, so.
Yes.
So, to the extent we can bang out some numbers and see where we stand relatively, does that say in December, for example, is that 5 months? I think it is, end of November is 5 months.
November 30th, it would be the end of that period, but then we'd have to get all the information processed through Medicare, which is going to probably take another 30 days, accumulate the information from the town. So January is more realistic.
Okay.
I would say we have it after you present your things to your board that we do usually every January.
Yeah.
So either we would have another meeting with this group in January if there's enough time, or February meeting. And then you could do both at the same time. You could present 6/30/21, and you could present your 5 months of data.
That'd be fine.
That's okay with you, Kevin?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just think there's a lot, and I know you talk about cost cutting. COVID, I think, had a severe impact. The way Medicare's paying is another. And then somebody might look at it and say, oh, it's easy. Cut your salaries and just go with per diem people. Sounds good, right? Except you're not getting them.
Yeah.
They're not out there.
No.
Yeah. There's-
So you're in an extremely, it's an extremely tough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it when I heard you starting to talk about how to increase referrals, and that's why I wanted to be certain that
Oh,
meant good
absolutely.
things.
That's
Admissions
one of the
and
major ways
services
you can
and
come
this.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Everybody should be on the lookout for that, and and be mindful that again, minus 427 is minus 427.
Plus, we
So
do hear all good
yeah.
things, and some of your nurses have taken care of some of my very good friends over the years in this town, and,
Yeah.
so it's,
So is this what our objective was, just to learn and understand their background and plan for tonight? No decisions or any of that, Kev or John?
well, we don't make a decision.
Okay, we're just aware.
Yeah.
Okay. Consider us
That's,
aware.
I'll give you a copy of that.
Thank you.
but I thank you
You're
all
gonna
for
send
coming, and I thank
electronically to
you.
John?
You're welcome.
You'll send this electronic one
Sure,
as well?
I can.
John,
Does
I'll give
anybody
this to
have
you so you
any
can make
questions or
copies.
anything?
And you can at least get a PDF out there. Thank you, Anna.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty.
you for your time.
And
Thank you, guys.
Septic bill, I
Thank you
forgot
very
to
much
push it
for
on,
meeting
I
with us.
showed up here.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Hill's gonna kill me. Oh, it's only a few days.
Jim, can you tell?
Chris.
Can you tell me the piece that Joe Nurses says how,
Oh, I will.
an old friend from North Haven.
No kidding.
I'm gonna take a 5-minute break if we can shut this
Yeah,
off.
I think so.
Yeah, like, I'm the nearest company from North Haven.
Welcome back after our short break. Item number 7, no. Item number 6.
6.
Discuss and vote to return excess cost-sharing reimbursement to the Orange Board of Education. And we have a memo from Christine Koch.
And we do this every year. It's more of a formality. It's just the money they get back from the state comes to us, and we have to vote to send it back to them for their
Okay,
budget.
so the motion is to give the Orange Board of Education $204,564 for the overage covered by excess funds from the state
For special education
for
funds.
special education fund. Thank you.
So is that a motion?
I believe it was trying to be.
Is there a second? Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, unanimous.
And
Thank
Jody.
you. Item number 7, Mr. Nuzzo, Amity update.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so the Amity update. We've had a couple of meetings since we last met. First one was in August. The main item in August that we discussed was the 1% versus the 2%, and to be appropriated to the capital and non-recurring account. They were looking for a 2%. So we proposed and made a motion with unanimous approval for a 1% appropriation, which is what we've given them previously. So I think everybody was against the 2%, Matt Giglietti included.
Who was from the ABOE who is not affiliated with a Board of Finance was on that AFC committee that night in August?
Well, you have Sharon Huxley.
Right.
Sharon's a new member.
From where?
Sharon's from Woodbridge or Bethany?
I don't know.
I
Okay.
think she's
I'll look her
new.
up.
I think Woodbridge.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt, of course.
Yeah.
And we had the other woman. What's her name? She's relatively new too. She's been on for a while. But it was a unanimous approval of the 1%.
Who was the chairman of the Amity Finance Committee?
Well, Pat Cardoza just retired, and the chairman is now Chris Brow. Chris Brow is the other person that was there.
Oh, he was there.
Yeah, Chris is our chairman at IFC.
And he voted for it as well.
Yeah, it was unanimous approval for 1% appropriation.
Okay.
And everybody was against the 2%. So I think we talked about the surplus enough. I think we all know where that stands.
Mm-hmm.
And they took the 1% and they went on their way. So they were okay with it. They wanted 2, we gave them 1.
And the regular board then put that motion forward and approved the 1%.
Yes, as far as I know, I haven't heard any
Yeah, I
otherwise.
saw their minutes,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. And so for those who are at home and thinking 1%, 2%, no big deal, this 1% means more than $500,000.
Yes.
That was not in the budget. That was used, if I remember the memo right, George, they were basically spending money on items they had planned to spend in future years and pulling that money in and spending it now.
Yes. So that was the main item from that meeting. We also had a meeting last Monday, the 13th. Again, not too many agenda items. We talked a little bit about the pension performance. So I'll talk a little bit about that for a moment. So the Amity Pension has a balance of $17.5 million. Performance for the quarter was 5.3%. Year to date, 9%. July 2020 to June 2021, 28%. And then the 1 year performance is 28%. So the return was very strong in the last year, during the last year with COVID. So it was one positive coming out of the COVID environment.
Until today.
Until today. Until today. The OPEB pension has a balance of $3.3 million. Again, similar performances, 5% for the quarter, 9% year to date, and 27% for the year. And then the sick and severance portfolio has $827,000 in it. Performance 4%, 7%, and 21% over the same periods, as discussed. So financials year to date, we have a surplus as August 21 forecast of almost $500,000, about $453 to date, primarily coming from the accounts that we've heard before: salaries, benefits, and purchase services. To be noted on the medical account, which is only a couple of months old, they had here. So on the medical, they're a little over budget on the medical. And then again, it's only July and August numbers. So the actual was $530,000 versus a budget of $370,000. And then for August was $405 actual with a budget of $426. So they're at 103% for the first couple of months of this year. So we'll see how that goes. Last year's actual medical expenses were 76% of the budget, which is where most of the surplus came from. It was not too much happening. It was a pretty quick meeting. If anybody has seen the football field is complete at this point. They did play on it last Friday. I guess it went pretty well. So everybody's happy about that.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, it looks really good. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good. Yeah, I don't know what any practical people are on the turf and doing the field.
Just talking to I talked to the crew who worked the game Friday night, and they said you know, it's as good as anyone they've ever been on, so.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Which was the intent, yeah, and considering what it's been over the years.
Problem
But
is,
also
you gotta get the team,
Yeah.
Sorry?
and you gotta get the team playing.
Yeah,
Try
there
to
you
recruit a
go.
little better. And then we had a year-to-date budget report on the bond projects. So on the athletic field, the turf field, original appropriation was 3.1 million. They had some adjustments of 170 for a revised budget of $3.3 million for the turf field. I guess it was
Actually, if you remember, that was delayed over a year,
Yes.
so there were probably
Oh, yeah.
delay conditions
And the-
with
and
the
the expenses went
contractor.
up.
Going
Yeah.
back to my old construction days,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And they
Well, with
probably
COVID
ran the legal fees
Good
through
that it didn't
too.
have a heavy wood component. Good.
Yeah. So, and improvements to the building on the bond projects, $1.8 million, increased to $1.9 million, so not bad. That was for the cooling and heating, Van Zelm engineers, and the coolers. So they updated the train, the air conditioning system, chillers as well, and the paving, Jim. I know we always talk about the paving.
Yep.
Original appropriation was $600,000. It increased by $40,000 with change orders, $640 total paving project over there. Seems like a lot of money, but that's.
So if they taken all those increases out of the contingency that they had with the bond, how do they pay for it?
Yeah, so these are bond projects, John. Yeah, these are
Okay.
bonds that were appropriated. There were 6.5 million total bond projects on here. So improvements, building improvements, turf field, paving, and some other professional and technical services. 6.5 million in bond projects to date here. So, and that was about it. It wasn't anything else, Jim, you wanted to mention?
Oh, I got a couple slides,
yeah,
but
it
there's
wasn't- there
nothing
wasn't too
in the
much.
same zone that you're talking about, I don't think.
Not very eventful. Last meeting, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, we good?
Good, thank you. Good.
No, I'm
Yeah.
glad we don't have to go up there and yell that the 1% was accepted.
Yeah.
I had conversations
They
with
had
people.
no choice.
And I, you know,
So Matt and I
Listen,
Push
said,
her well.
there
make
was,
the motion, that was it, was done.
yeah, well,
They were all excited for two, we were like,
let's
sorry.
just say that that's what happened in the meeting,
Yeah.
and leave it at that, right? Okay.
item number 8, Vice Chairman's report, Mr.
We'll give you a
Leahy.
quick look. All right, here we are. Okay, whoa. Oh, wait a minute. Display settings. Duplicate slideshow. Okay, here we go. All right, this is for people at home and people who didn't see the article. It's a reminder of what you spend your taxes on. It's an article that was sent last year. We have quotes from a couple of our members who are here tonight, but basically, this is the pie chart of what we spend money on for the prior year, all right? For the current year we're in, it's very similar, but you can see how much is Amity, how much is the Orange BOE. You can see the town side in the orange, and a little bit other than that, capital and debt. Call up a few of my members, and it was reminded that the education total was nearly 63%, both Amity and OBOE. And Kevin reminded me, and therefore I wanted to remind others, with this slide was from last year, that the OBOE uses our town building, so when we have to repair them, that we have to repair them from the town. So that's the kicker box down. And although it's not in although it's in the town budget in the orange, it's actually an educational expense. So it's over 63% would be the one. All right, Mr. Moffett, senior man, education is important, he said to me. Right, it's 2/3 of our entire budget. We have to consider all parts of our budget preparation, not only the schools, but capital needs in our town department. So these were the quotes that were in the article. I've made these slides before. I just wanted to mention them 1 minute's worth. Regarding Amity financials, I would like to give an update here. Excuse me. It flew. This is a chart that I showed last February, if you recall. It talks about the surpluses at Amity. All right? You can see in the blue that, first of all, you have an average over a 15-year period where over $1.5 million was in surplus. And you can see that this surplus trend has risen. And in fact, over the last 4 years, stated at the time of last February, that you can see that we had an average of the 4-year period, 2.6 million per year. I'm reminding people, and will continue to remind people, that surpluses are an unnecessary tax burden to every taxpayer of Orange and the member towns. The update on that slide is what Joe had mentioned, but now I'm putting to graphics. The right-hand side, the yellow, the 2,991,592 is the surplus from last year's budget, updating this chart. So what you can see is the trend, which was abnormal from back in the blue area, I'll call it, back in the late, 10, 12 years ago, Kev, right, is been maintained over the last budget cycles at Amity. That's a fact. This is another visual that I created last February. What is on this chart? It shows a period of years. It has 2 colors per year. One is looking at a budget-to-budget increase comparison in blue. So, for example, you're seeing on the right there 1.2% for the 18-19 fiscal year from year to year. The actuals to budget, which means what you then take off the surplus and say, well, that's what you really spent last year. So what do you have in your budget this year? And you see a far different story. And the reason we're doing this is to demonstrate why it is we have this continued issue with surpluses, all right? And it is not a minor issue. As you can see in the kicker box at the bottom of the page, perhaps the actuals to budget increase. You can see the orange is 3.5 times bigger than the blue. What do we have this year? Well, go find the numbers, and here are the numbers. The numbers in the budget for 2021 is 50.7. For 21-22 is 51.6. The increase is 900,000. And some can advertise this as an increase of 1.80%. Couldn't go any lower. When you actually look at the budget from the last fiscal year of 2021, and you look at the surplus, which I just identified as 2,991,592, you can see you actually spent $47.7 million. And that the budget for this year is 51.698, the same number you see at the top of the page here. So clearly, the increase is $3.9 million. And therefore, the increase in budget from the actually what you spent last year to what you have as a budget this year is 8.17%. So when we go back to this chart, rather than see what you see from the other years, if you put in this year, sorry, I was rushing this and I didn't put the fiscal year down here, you can see that that trend has continued. And I think that tells you what you can likely see in the future. So as we're talking about OV&A and how we're trying to do roads and we have culverts, where would we ever get the money? One could argue that there might be an opportunity sitting right up there. The final thing I'll talk to you about is Amity medical and dental expense. This is a screenshot of what I sent out to you guys. I'm not asking you to read this. I am asking you, remind you that I sent it to you when I got the data from last week, Joe. Here's the deal. Historically, this medical and dental expenses had a surplus. Joe, you alluded to it, right? There are 2 types of budgets. One is in a Word document and one is in the Excel document, all right? And the Word document, and I mentioned it in the memo, I should have had it defined in the page here, so that's an opportunity improvement, that's what's called the claims budget estimate. What's the estimate, Deb, of all the claims that are going to come in, okay? And in the Excel document, what you have there is what the financial part was there for, okay? So what you see here for the current year, we're expecting claims of 4.5 million, but we only budgeted 3.675 million, right, for it. And what I was in my response emails that everybody was copied on, I'm saying to myself, I know they're not supposed to be exactly the same. And I know that Amity administration has told me that there's reasons for differences. But I don't understand how come this difference has gone from like 150,000 to over 800,000. And you can calculate the math of what the percentage increases have been over the last 3 years. I don't get it. So I made a chart so that people could see it. And I'm basically saying, look, I understand if you're going to tell me that these are necessarily equal because they're two different budgets. Once you take these differences into account, how about this idea, left-hand side of an Excel sheet, and you tell me what those numbers are, these things should be equal. And that's what I mean by a mapping. We need a mapping between the two budgets, the factors and amounts that balance this idea that we have claims and we have amount budgeted, which is for the taxpayers. Because usually you find when you start seeing significant differences like there is usually you find opportunities. That's all I got, Kevin.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Item number 9, discussion and approval of minutes from June 21st, 2021.
All right. Minutes. John, you batting lead off?
Yes. I believe the only thing I have is up on the top of page 3.
All right, we'll go right there, boy.
The very second sentence there that says, this transfer of funds will have no impact on altering this standing with the credit agencies.
Yep.
Credit agency, probably.
Yep.
That's all I had.
Or you could take out the word with credit. Yeah, it's a good one. Joe?
No, nothing I can see right here. No.
Jeff, anything?
I'm good.
I got a quick question on the middle of page 2, item E. Not on the edit, John, but a follow-up. Mr. Cifarelli requested a motion, 104K, to encumber up to 104K from a number of, to purchase the 2 vehicles. Is that in the fiscal year 2021 document that we have, the PDF?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that was done in a few years.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I have anything else. Good.
And is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Joe, is there a second?
A second? Yep.
Second by Jim. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous.
I abstained because I
Kevin
wasn't here,
abstains?
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Start with revenue, Kev?
Item 10, to review revenue and cost reports for June 30th, 2021.
John, we got to go to, I would propose we go right to this last page and explain to us what's going on here. I need help.
Okay,
I followed most of it, but if you would just run through it, I would appreciate it.
Okay, you're on the revenue thing.
Yeah, revenue with your,
All right.
your scratches there.
Because we went out and did the bonding and all, we had revenue come in for it, which has to run through the general fund. So what I did, I kind of backed it out so we could get back to our budgets, so you can see our budgets.
So you backed out this thing, 13,315.
And the 545.
And
That has
545.
to do with the bonding and the payoff of the bonds.
So you
and
minus
all.
those 2.
Right.
Roger that.
And then I minus the 204, 564. That's the
That's the
action you
excess.
took tonight
Yep,
to
yep, cost
come
share.
up. So then that comes and says we collected revenue of 74,574,281.92.
Okay,
And
and
if
we
you
have a
take that-
budget of 73,755,306
Right.
was on our budget.
So
Roger.
we have a unaudited surplus on the revenue side of that.
Okay.
If you look up above, most of that falls to because of Amity.
Understood. Okay, the right-hand side?
And that might grow by another 100,000 because Art has an entry to do for police special services.
Right, that's when we get the questions on it. I saw
Yeah.
that one myself, yeah. Okay, help me, this right-hand side, how do I'm trying to understand, oh, you took that and minused off those two numbers. Oh, man. That wasn't even a fastball. That's a violation. I'm in, Joe. That's a violation. I agree. But here's the thing. So these now become the same. In other words, if I take this 74,574, 281.92, all right, and minus off this, I'll get this.
It should come to that. I'm not guaranteeing that it will, but it should be close.
Close enough.
I'll take Renee Cross for now, but let me just do something here. And you guys can whatever you want to do, but I gotta do this. I spent too much time today going over this stuff. Okay, 2.
It works.
It does?
It works.
I add
just
the.
did it.
Roger. Okay. All right. And this is now year end.
Yeah, you won't see these numbers anymore. The next time you'll see these numbers is for the audit when you sit down with
Okay.
Michelle.
So if we have quick ones, the 100,000 police. We didn't get the 100 grand from University of New Haven. What's the forecast on that?
I don't know. They've been a problem for the first selectman for a while.
Okay. And I had the 100 grand for special duty.
I will speak to him about it, though.
Okay. John, there's one more under Orange Public Schools. Is that 241,650?
Where are you?
Page 6. You circled it.
Oh, that's the money you gave back. You didn't give back all of it.
Okay, thank you. Right underneath that where we have either 139, the public health, is that connected? What is that?
Public health.
Right below that by 2.
Oh, that is the money that Art takes for them for benefits and other stuff. That number will appear
In there.
in his when he does
Okay.
his audit.
All right, that's all I have on the revenue side for a quick question. Other? Kevin?
I'm fine.
Okay. Jump over to expense. This is for the whole year, right? Again, we have let's get everything in the back buckled down, and then we can kind of go front. I think would be a good process. I think I understood this one, John, but why don't you walk us through?
Same thing here. The bond costs to pay off the bonds and then refinance the bonds, they're in there, so I backed that all out. You see it right there, 1840.
Yep, the 1840, the
and
3250, the 60.
Yeah, and then the 1,500,000 was the money you moved to capital
Right.
in the June meeting.
Okay.
So all that came out, and again.
Because you're trying to get to a number to compare it to the 74,976.
Right. Now, I'll tell you right now, if you take that 74,976 minus the 73,
Yes.
it comes to more like 740 as the surplus. And I couldn't find it, and I said, you know what, it's not worth.
No, it's worse than
spending
that, John.
time
I
on
think
it.
we have 1.9 there.
Now,
74.9 and 73.0.
hold on.
I mean, if we don't.
We're not taking the 74.9, we're taking the 73.
Oh, 755.
And this one is
Roger
a little
that.
different.
Thank you.
Because the way the new computer system works, it pulls over the encumbrances from the previous year and puts them in the adjustment column.
Just when I was getting used to knowing that pluses were in this sheet a minus and minuses were pluses, just when I was getting used to that, you're now giving me a new one.
It's a little tricky.
Okay.
But you can see the difference. It's like 740 instead of 711.
Do you expect us to shift much?
Now,
Between, typically, we don't have a lot of...
We're pretty closed
Yeah.
for the year end.
Right.
Art's got a couple entries to make. He made, if you look in the labor accounts, most
Yeah.
of the labor accounts are a little over budget.
Yep.
And that's because we put in a accrual at the end of the year. 1 week was in 6/30/2020, and
Right.
1 week was in the new year, so we adjust that every year, and we don't really budget for that accrual, so.
Yep.
And we've been doing that, I've been making them do that since I've been here, because it's
Yeah, as long
really
as
the
we're
right thing to
consistent, we're
do.
balancing out and we're good.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying let's call it among friends, 700,000 in the plus on the expenses, and we're more than happy with what we got in the revenue side. Got it.
That's good.
Good?
All good.
All right, so Kevin, item 11? Is it? Moving fast, Joe.
Item 11, to review revenue and cost reports for August 30th. I would just ask if John has anything to highlight, or if anybody has any questions. I don't want to go through this page by page.
No, let me just see if I have any questions.
There was a couple
I have a
There's a
couple.
couple of things. You're gonna see where Dr. Mohammed and Brian Solokowski's labor accounts are gonna be high again. That's gonna be because they got a grant for extra hours. So we took in revenue for the next year and a half. Their numbers are gonna be a little higher than what
But
we
we're
budgeted.
picking it up on the other side, so
Yeah,
we're not.
yeah.
It's not costing the town.
Absolutely.
John, on the back page, near
And
the
I've
back.
also made, because we've done it already, we've done the non-union pay raises for the year, so I've already made those adjustments. So those are in there. You'll see those in the adjustment column.
There's 200K here in the very last section before you get to the total. It says public health, it's under town services, and what is that?
Where on the revenue, that's
200.
gonna be again the adjustment that Art makes at the end of next year for their benefits on the public health nursing side.
The OVNA?
OVNA. That was the 339 you saw in the past year's budget.
All good.
It all depends on what their labor is, what the benefit number is. He has a formula for it.
We good?
I thought I had
Okay,
one
more,
other
Ken?
thing,
John?
but there's going to be a couple of accounts where we have a few problems, but nothing.
No, I
big.
circled a few things,
It looks
but I
like
said,
most
yeah, come on.
of our coding problems in the payroll from the new system have been corrected. Art today told me on some of the salary accounts, he went back and he shortened the names to make them a little better, to make them flow in here. Jim, he had the same complaint you had when they designed these reports. They left all that space between the names and stuff.
It's awful. Park and Rec self-help, what time of year do we get that money?
That'll be at the end of next year.
Thank you.
If you look again back in the
No, that's-
old one, you'll see that.
God bless.
A couple of things I could tell you already.
Yep.
Postage account, next year, we're gonna have to raise that in the budget. There's
Yep.
been another increase, and we'll probably be short of money in that account this year. We're
Hold on,
also-
we're on revenue, boss.
Oh, okay.
You're jumping. Thanks, John. These Yankee fans, Joe.
Yeah, you watch them, I know, they're crazy. They're crazy, Joe.
They're on commercial.
All right, now we can go to expense.
Oh, now we go to expense. All right. John, take it away.
The postage was, I don't even know what the regular, it's 53 cents?
It's going up to 58.
Yeah, it went up to 58.
Went up, yeah. it did.
Yeah,
What?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, so if you're using metered, it's still 53.
No, no, it went up.
If you have
It went up.
the all-time stamps, if you bought them 2 months ago, they're still good. But the next time you buy them, they'll charge you.
58.
The meters now are so computerized. On Friday, they tell you on Monday there'll be an increase. You come in Monday and the meter, they program it already. It's all set to go.
Okay, they use the OVNA business model for the post office.
Watch it, Joey, watch it.
The one other
Same body.
thing that you can start thinking to expect when we start doing the new budget, it's finally starting to hit the minimum wage increases.
Yeah.
And it's not just the minimum wage people. I'll give you an
Everybody else
example.
above it. is-
Right, because at the pool, we have like 3 levels of lifeguards, and you have the ones that are at the minimum. Then you have the ones that have been there 3 years, they're $1.50 higher than the minimum. And then you have ones that have been there 7 years, they're another $1.50 above that. So every time the minimum
Yeah,
goes
right,
up,
right.
that has to
And
go
not
up.
one politician thought about that at all when he raised the minimum wage.
And then we have other
Not one.
jobs that aren't at the minimum, but that are close.
tiers, they're all
And we're gonna
tiers,
have
of
to
course.
raise those. So like
course.
the guys that cut the lawn out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the people in the library.
No one thought about that.
Yeah.
Not one person.
So you're gonna see that in the new year, and you know, we'll be, July 1st, we'll be in the 4th increase, I think it is. And that
Yeah.
brings it to 14, and then July 1 of 2023 will bring it to 15. So we're,
But on a good note, we locked in on our oil and gas, right? With those
we got
contracts.
a good bid for this year. I think we're paying $1.75 a gallon for gas, but we go out to bid in December again, and it's
For
not
next
gonna be
year, next year's,
anywhere.
but our current budget that we're in now,
There should be some
I'm not sure
savings
we-
there,
we
absolutely.
did good.
There was nothing important.
All right, here's what I got, John. I said, I'm not going through this. So I said, I gotta figure out a way. So I took the total on the last page, right? On this page right here. And I said, okay, we have spent 23.0 and let's call it 1.1, right? So we spent 24.1 or expended, right? So I looked up how much Amity and the OBOE had already in there, and that was 13.8. So I said, okay, so there's only 10.3 that other people have done. Now, I know that since this is the middle of September, this is only 2.5 months out of 12, right? 5 out of 24, 21%. So I'm looking for 21%. So I then say, okay, if education's 33.4 of that 76 million, the other is 42.7. So then I put the 10.3 because we know, I don't know what that happened there. We knew that the education deep in the middle had 13.8, so the rest of it had to be 10.3, had to be. So 10.3 out of what's left of the budget, if education got 33.4, then everything else is 42.7, and that's 23%. But and that's higher than 21%, but then you have all the debt that we already paid. So I'm not worried about the rest of it. So I gave it a pass.
Good, Jim.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, this includes both payrolls through September, even though
it's, so even you're ahead of that.
Right. It makes no sense to me the way the system runs now to run your report that cuts off the end of August that still doesn't have August bills in it. So I try and get it to the Wednesday before you meet now, and if both payrolls fall in there, they fall in there.
Well, at least you're not sending us one version and then talking about a different version on the next Monday night. I have a memory of that. I'm good on this one.
Anyone else? Okay. Old business.
Here we go.
Review detailed cost of tropical storm.
It's on the screen, no
And I
changes,
can never
John.
pronounce it correctly. so-
IESIS,
Isa.
Yeah,
Isa.
something like that. The number hasn't changed. I probably won't give you this again because it won't change. I'll just fill you
Give
in.
it to it when we haven't,
When we
there's
get
a
some
change.
funds.
Or when
Well,
we get
I'll
some
just
funds.
tell you when we get the funds. From what I talked to Mr. Britton the other day about it, our claims have been put in. They pretty much went through the first tier of review where the person looks at it, asks for more detail. You provide as much detail as you has. He said she didn't seem like she was going to deny anything, that she was going to kick it up to the next level. And I guess it goes up 2 or 3 levels, and each one gets a little more sophisticated on what they're looking for. So at the end of the day, he said it'll probably be about another year before we see any funds, which
Another year, really?
yeah.
As government works.
And that'll be a personal record for that.
And that'll be good, because remember, they're handling all kinds of claims too for the COVID and everything else. They're dealing with a woman, and she's in a hotel room in Connecticut, someplace up by Hartford, and she's dealing with 10 different cities and towns.
And then you have the new storms on top of it.
Right.
And we got lucky on the last one, relatively lucky, except for those poor people.
Yeah, those poor guys. But yeah.
I'll be happy to play the role.
Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. All those in favor?
All right.
One time only, though.
Meeting adjourned at 10:02.
Two.